Chapter 46:17. Shen Xiang realized that he had seriously underestimated the Chuangshi power. He originally thought that after refining the Chuangshi power into a pill, he would be able to control it. But now he had lost control. After so many years, the pills that he had refined using the heavenly alchemy had never been like this. The two incantation spirit pills could actually fuse and recombine in his body to become a new incantation spirit. It could be said that after the two Chuangshi power fused, they underwent a mutation and wanted to break free from Shen Xiang's control. If Shen Xiang did not handle it well, he would definitely be killed by this Chuangshi power. Shen Xiang originally thought that after coming out of the incantation mountain, he would let the 6 realms mirrors refine the incantation mountain. He did not expect that just as he came out, the Chuangshi power in his body would become even more difficult to suppress. The protruding man absorbed the mist, and his body rapidly expanded, turning into a small giant. The power in his body became even more terrifying as he crazily rushed toward Xinxiang. "Big brother, hold on." Little sister Xiaojing was also shocked and immediately controlled the 6 realms mirrors to float above the incantation mountain. After the 6 realms mirrors grew larger, it enveloped the top of the incantation mountain, wanting to engulf the entire mountain. However, this was not as smooth as Xinxiang had imagined. The 6 realms mirrors was unable to absorb the incantation mountain. "It won't be difficult for me." Little sister Xiaojing controlled the 6 realms mirrors to grow larger and then activated the world-defying map of the universe. In an instant, a large number of stars appeared in the sky. Countless stars seemed to have overturned the entire black ash forest. The most terrifying thing was that when the countless stars started to revolve, they gradually condensed into a huge galaxy and gathered above the incantation mountain. Xinxiang anxiously flew up and stood on top of the 6 realms mirrors. The power that erupted from the world-defying map of the universe was indeed terrifying. It immediately suppressed the mutated Chuangshi power in Xinxiang's body. As the 6 realms mirrors activated the world-defying map of the universe, the incantation mountain below also slowly floated up, as if it had been uprooted, and was gradually devoured by the 6 realms mirror's mirror. The 6 realms mirrors swallowed the incantation mountain, then quickly flew over to the Lost Soul village and swallowed the incantation mountain in one go. Shen Xiang also did not expect that the world-defying map released by the 6 realms mirrors would be so terrifying. He was suddenly a little worried. Since the world-defying map of the universe was so powerful, he might have to pay a price. "Sister Mirror, how are you feeling now?" Xinxiang asked. "I'm fine, I'm just a little tired." "Don't worry, I'll recover soon." She said, "Brother, how are you now?" "He's being suppressed for now. I have to refine that Chuangshi power again." Xinxiang said, "All right, we'll find a safe place for you to proceed smoothly." Little sister Xiaojing controlled the divine mirror of 6 paths to put away the world-defying map of the universe. After quickly shrinking, she took Xinxiang and flew away from the group of protruding forehead people. After putting away the map of the universe, the Genesis energy in Xinxiang's body started to become restless again. Right now, Xinxiang could only use the power of the 6 paths divine mirror's 6 paths life soul to suppress it. Otherwise, he would not be able to resist the creation power by himself. In fact, if he did not have a universe fate, he would have been blown away by the Genesis force. It was also because he had a universe fate that he was extremely eager to obtain this creation power. Otherwise, he would not have taken such a risk. It was the universe fate in his body that was causing trouble, driving him to devour the 2 creation power that had turned into cursed spirits. "Big brother, how is the power of the world-defying map of the universe?" Little sister Xiaojing asked with a smile. She was still very proud of the power of the world-defying map of the universe. "Very powerful. I really didn't expect it to be this strong." Xinxiang sighed. "How did you do it?" Chapter 46:18. Shen Xiang was unable to completely refine these two Chuangshi power by himself. Fortunately, he had the help of the 6 realms mirrors. What was very miraculous was that after little sister Little Mirror devoured the 2 incantation mountains, she actually possessed the potential to suppress and restrain the Chuangshi power. Even Shen Xiang could feel the pressure brought about by that potential. This was mainly because he was currently being invaded too deeply by the 2 Chuangshi power. The Chuangshi power was afraid of the potential released by the 6 realms mirrors, and Shen Xiang was also infected by this fear. This made him even more eager to completely refine the 2 Chuangshi power. Otherwise, he would definitely be assimilated by the Chuangshi power. Big brother, those 2 incantation mountains are very restrained by the Chuangshi power. It's as if they were specially created to subdue the Chuangshi power. That's right, I really need the power of the incantation mountain right now. Shen Xiang said, Little sister mirror, try and see if you can release flames through the incantation mountain. In order to burn the Chuangshi power, you need a special flame. All right, I'll give it a try, he said. The 2 incantation mountains have already merged with the 6 realms mirrors. I'll think of a way to make them release their flames. This was not difficult because the incantation mountain itself was something that did not have intelligence. Through the world-defying map of the universe, she could use the weak power of the world-defying universe to completely fuse with the incantation mountain. What Shen Xiang needed to do now was to use his own soul to completely refine all of the consciousness of the Chuangshi power. The Chuangshi power could quickly produce consciousness, and this kind of consciousness was the very terrifying and evil kind. Previously, the 2 cursed spirits had their consciousnesses dealt with by Shen Xiang alone. However, after they met, they produced new consciousnesses and almost caused Shen Xiang to capsize. Fortunately, Shen Xiang had a lot of experience in this area. For example, in order to help those people recover their memories, he had entered the depths of their souls and fished out many broken memory fragments to reorganize them. This time was the same. He entered the depths of the soul force within the Chuangshi power and fished out all of the fragments that could produce consciousness. Right now, the only difficulty was that he was unable to completely incinerate those fragments of consciousness. This required a special flame. As long as these fragments of consciousness were still there, this Genesis energy would have a new consciousness and control this Genesis energy to wreak havoc. At this point, Shen Xiang could only stop and wait for little sister Jing's progress. Little sister, Xiao Jing, did not disappoint Shen Xiang. Very quickly, she merged the 2 incantation mountain into the core of the divine mirrors of 6 paths, and through the incantation mountain, she activated a special white flame. This kind of flame was released through the 6 realms mirrors and then entered the world-defying God furnace. Shen Xiang was inside the world-defying God furnace, and very quickly he saw this kind of white flame. It was sparkling, and there seemed to be all kinds of tiny white crystal particles floating within the flame. The Genesis energy was still in his abdomen, and only his body could restrain this Genesis energy. Even the world-defying God furnace was unable to restrain the Chuangshi power. The Chuangshi power could easily penetrate through the walls of the world-defying God furnace and escape. Shen Xiang guided the white crystal flame into his own abdomen. Although it was so hot that he felt extremely uncomfortable, he still had to continue. He circulated the heavenly alchemy in his own stomach to burn away the Genesis energy. This process was extremely long. Even if he obtained a special flame from the incantation mountain, it would still take a very long time to burn away the fragments of the Genesis energy's consciousness. It took him several years to burn away the fragments of his consciousness. He had checked hundreds of times, and only after confirming that there was not a single fragment of consciousness within the Genesis energy did he stop and enter the core formation stage. And it would take several years to condense a core. Fortunately, it was carried out in the time domain of the 6 realms mirrors, so not much time had passed in the southern fallen forest. A lot of things had also happened in the southern fallen forest. Kai Lian and the Tao Creation Sage had left the tribe of the protruding forehead people and were chasing after Sage Etian and the others. Sage Etian and the others were originally going to search for the Heavenly Mother Sage's universe destiny, but after they left the black-gray forest, they arrived at a vast ocean. After flying for a few days on the sea, they saw an archipelago made up of tens of thousands of small islands. The most terrifying thing about this archipelago was that there was an extremely huge blood-colored mountain in the middle. That huge mountain seemed to be formed from condensed blood, and it even emitted a strong smell of blood. Sage Etian was very sure that the Heavenly Mother Sage's universe destiny was not here. But their group did not go around this archipelago. This was because they felt that the blood crystal mountain was very familiar. Chapter 46:19. Because Shen Xiang wanted to refine the Chuangshi power, he had to study the Chuangshi power in depth. So he definitely had a better understanding of it. Although the Heavenly Mother Sage and the others had possessed the Chuangshi power for many years, their understanding of this power was very vague. Psyllian knew that Shen Xiang had once refined 6 life soul and even created 6 cultivation laws. So she thought that Shen Xiang could analyze all kinds of powers in depth. In fact, with Shen Xiang's current understanding of the Chuangshi power, he had already surpassed the 4 great sages. Even the Tao Creation Sage did not have as much understanding of the Chuangshi power as Shen Xiang. After all, Shen Xiang could already incinerate the consciousness fragments within the Chuangshi power, and the 4 great sages had never discovered the consciousness fragments of the Chuangshi power. Shen Xiang was currently seriously refining the Chuangshi power. He believed that he would definitely be able to successfully condense the pill, and this was only a matter of time. However, in the process of condensing the pill, he discovered a problem that he had not considered before. After the consciousness fragments within the Chuangshi power were incinerated by him, the quality of the Chuangshi power had decreased by a lot. This led to a problem. When the Chuangshi power was condensing a pill, because the quality was not enough, it was difficult to condense into a solid crystal. The consciousness fragments take up at least a large portion of the Chuangshi power's mass. Shen Xiang looked at the ball of Chuangshi power in his abdomen. He had also been refining for several years, and only at the last step did he discover this problem. The Chuangshi power in Shen Xiang's stomach had been refined by him for several years using the heavenly alchemy, and had already been refined into a small ball by him. If he continued to refine it, then this small ball of Chuangshi power would only condense into a liquid in the end, and it would be difficult to crystallize into a pill. After all, removing the consciousness fragments will allow one to obtain a very pure Chuangshi power. There are gains and losses. Shen Xiang could only accept this fact and sighed with regret. Big brother, does this pure Chuangshi power mean that it won't be tortured by the curse? Little sister Xiao Jing asked. I'm not sure yet, Shen Xiang said, because I have the universe life providence. It can counteract the effects of the curse, so I can't try it right now. Although it can only condense into a liquid in the end, it can still be used, right? Little sister Xiao Jing also felt that it was a pity. I wonder how much creation power did Sister Psyllian and Tao Creation Sage get back then? Shen Xiang had obtained a bottle of liquid condensed from the Chuangshi power. In fact, after he used the heavenly alchemy to refine it, the quality of the Chuangshi power was extremely high, far surpassing the Chuangshi power that the Tao Creation Sage and the others had obtained back then. The power of creation that they had obtained back then was only a small drop of dew. I don't plan to use it yet, Shen Xiang said. I want to refine more Chuangshi power, and then when I am refining the life soul, I will put in the pellet condensed from the Chuangshi power. Yes. Big brother, you need to create your soul seas cultivation law. It does require a very powerful life spirit. Xiao Jing nodded quickly. Also, directly absorbing this kind of Genesis power is somewhat risky. If it was used to refine a life spirit, even if there were any problems, it would only be the life spirit that got into trouble first. it would be easier to deal with it when the time came. The current Xinxiang had become extremely cautious when dealing with the Chuangshi power because he had almost suffered a huge loss before. He thought about how he had taken too much of a risk previously. He had actually allowed the Chuangshi power to enter his soul and almost capsized the boat. Xinxiang extracted the Chuangshi power from his stomach and handed it over to little sister Xiao Jing for safekeeping. I need to find more Chuangshi power. Only then will I be able to crystallize the Chuangshi power and successfully condense the core, Xinxiang said. After condensing the core, the Chuangshi power can be used to feed the life soul. When Xinxiang was refining the sixth life soul, he had fed it with a large amount of soul endowment origin power. The life soul that he was refining now was related to the soul seas cultivation method, which meant that he needed even more energy. If there was enough Chuangshi power to feed, then Xinxiang would be able to proceed much more smoothly. Sixth life soul can be considered a small life soul, and what I'm going to refine next is a large life soul. A pill condensed from Chuangshi power should be able to refine a large life soul. Only the power of a large life soul can allow a new cultivation method to appear in the world-defying universe. Xinxiang stood up and prepared to look for Tsai and Tao Creation Sage. Tsai had said before that she would leave a mark along the way so that Xinxiang could find them. Xinxiang flew into the air and quickly found the mark left behind by Tsai. She had used the Heavenly Mother Myriad Worlds art to condense a special kind of consciousness. She condensed this kind of consciousness into colorful lotus flowers and scattered them along the road. This kind of consciousness could be preserved in the world for a very long time without dissipating. Chapter 46:20. A large number of blood crystal viper mosquitoes flew out, forcing Sage Etian and the others to flee. There were many blood crystal viper mosquitoes, and they were very powerful. They were not afraid of the attacks of Sage Etian and the others. The blood crystal viper mosquitoes were not very fast. Sage Etian and the others quickly left the territory of the blood crystal viper mosquitoes. After they left the blood crystal mountain, the group of blood crystal viper mosquitoes did not chase after them. However, Sage Etian and the others did not give up on entering the blood crystal mountain because the creation energy inside was an incomparably huge temptation to them. They had only obtained a small amount of creation energy before, but it allowed them to stand at the peak of the universe God Sea. The blood crystal mountain was the outer shell of the creation energy. With such a huge outer shell, the creation energy inside would definitely be terrifying. Therefore, Sage Etian and the others could not miss this opportunity. Of course, they knew that coming into contact with powerful creation energy would cause them to suffer an even stronger curse. But they did not care so much. Because they were addicted to obtaining more power, they were very eager to obtain more power, so they did not care about the consequences. If Sage Etian and the others obtain new creation energy and become stronger, can we not touch it? Tsai asked in a low voice. She also understood the meaning of the Tao Creation Sage. If they could not touch it, then it would be best not to touch it. This was naturally the best result. However, Sage Etian and the others would definitely think of a way to obtain the creation energy. And if Tsai and the others did not come into contact with the new creation energy, their strength would definitely be far behind Sage Etian. Didn't I say that if you cannot touch it, then don't touch it? Sage Etian sighed. You and I are very clear that the creation energy can allow people to obtain powerful strength, but it can also make people fall into hell. If you obtain too much creation energy, you might not be able to escape even if you have a universe fate. I understand. Tsai nodded. Our final goal is to get rid of the curse. Sage Etian looked at the sky, his eyes filled with helplessness. He sighed. Only by getting rid of the curse can we decide our own life and death. Senior, the curse is not enough to kill us, right? Tsai was at a loss after hearing Sage Etian's words. Not only can the curse control our life and death, it can also make us wish we were dead. Sage Etion looked at Silian and asked, "Have you tried to end your life?" Silian thought for a moment and then shook her head. "If you try, you can't die," the Tao Creation Sage said. "Instead, it will be very painful rebirth." "Senior, do you think Xinxiang has a way to help us get rid of the curse?" Kai Lian was also afraid. If they couldn't even die, then why were they still alive? Why were they able to obtain the Genesis energy? After obtaining the power of creation, they were not given any mission. However, there was a force that was controlling their life and death. "I don't know, but Xinxiang will not be controlled by the power of creation." The Tao Creation Sage said he just gave us the hope of getting rid of the curse. "Look, there's movement in that giant mountain." Kai Lian suddenly shouted. Waves of red mist suddenly seeped out from the top of the blood crystal mountain. The mist drifted in the air and then turned into balls of air. There were dozens of air masses, all of which belonged to the sage and the others. This is creation power? The Tao Creation Sage's face suddenly changed, and he had to make a choice now. If this was the power of creation, then should he accept it or not? "Senior, should we go over?" Kai Lian's heart was also tangled. She was now the Tao Creation Sage's action. If the Tao Creation Sage did not accept the power of creation, then she would not accept it either. At this time, Sage Etion and the others were all floating in the air, extremely excited. The power of creation this time is very strong. The Tao Creation Sage took a deep breath and said, "If we do not accept it, then we will no longer be the opponents of Sage Etion and the others in the future, and will be left far behind by them." "Senior, are you accepting the power of creation to become stronger, or are you accepting the power of creation to defeat Sage Etion and the others?" Kai Lian stared at the Tao Creation Sage and asked with her soul. Chapter 46:21. Silian never thought that the Tao Creation Sage would actually go crazy to such an extent. Even if he cut off one of his arms, he would still have to fly over to obtain the Genesis power. Although the arm could be reborn in the future, the Tao Creation Sage's body was currently very strong, so it was difficult for him to quickly regenerate an arm. Looking at the dozen or so balls of Genesis power flying over, Silian was also suddenly moved. She was mainly affected by the Tao Creation Sage. Silian's heart suddenly became incomparably tangled. It could even be described as struggling. She was at a loss. The Tao Creation Sage had already passed. Should she go over? As one of the 4 great sages, because she had been cultivating the Heavenly Mother Myriad World art for many years, she had split out many clones and souls, which was equivalent to weakening herself over the years. In a short period of time, she was unable to summon all of her clones, so she was the weakest among the 4 great sages. If she did not accept the Genesis power, the other 3 sages would definitely be far stronger than her in the future. She suddenly thought that Xinxiang might be hunted down by the Heavenly Ghost Sage in the future. Then, how would she protect Xinxiang? In the southern fallen forest, the Tian Fa Sage and the Heavenly Ghost Sage would not let Xinxiang go. After these 2 sages obtained the Genesis power and became stronger, they would definitely go and find Xinxiang again. Silian's feelings towards Xinxiang were very complicated. First of all, her personality was influenced by Zilian and Xenro, so she was very infatuated with Xinxiang. She was also extremely intimate with Xinxiang in the Soul Sea. Then there was the Lotus Emperor personality. She felt that she owed Xinxiang because Xinxiang had transferred her fate vein spirit to her body. Without the fate vein spirit, she would no longer be cursed by the Heavenly Ghost Sage, and Xinxiang would also bear all of the curses directed at her. Then there was the Heavenly Mother personality. She was very respectful toward Xinxiang, because Xinxiang had pointed out that her Heavenly Mother, Myriad World, art's cultivation direction was wrong. Furthermore, Xinxiang's alchemy skills made her admire him even more. None of her three personalities wanted Xinxiang to get hurt. Looking at the Tao Creation Sage flying past, looking at the power of creation floating over, Psalian's heart was shaken. Even though she knew that obtaining this power of creation would lead to eternal damnation, she still wanted to obtain it. Just as she was about to fly over, she suddenly thought of Xinxiang. And at this time it was Lian Er's personality that took the lead. In the face of the temptation of the power of creation, the most rational and intelligent personality of the Heavenly Mother and the powerful and arrogant personality of the Lotus Monarch were defeated. So now it was Lian Er's turn to act. I'm really speechless. How could they be defeated at such a crucial moment? Kai, Lian muttered, as if she was blaming the Heavenly Mother and Lotus Empress. She is also flying towards the dozens of groups of creation power, but she is not tempted. She is going to stop the Tao Creation Sage. Senior, come back. Psalian waved and threw out a golden chain, tied up Tao Creation Sage, and then dragged back. Tao Creation Sage let out a roar because he almost came into contact with a group of creation power, but was suddenly tied up and dragged away by Psalian. Little girl, are you crazy? Sage Etion and the Tao Creation Sage have both come into contact with the power of creation, and they have also discovered our situation. If we don't immediately accept the power of creation and become stronger, we will be killed by them later. The Tao Creation Sage roared. At this moment he was incomparably angry, and his entire person looked extremely ferocious. Senior, I still have the same words. Wait for Xinxiang to come. Kai Lian sighed faintly and said, You value Xinxiang a lot, and think that he can refine the universe fate to help you get rid of the curse. Since you trust him so much, why don't you wait for him to come? At this moment, Lian Er's personality was terrifyingly calm. The main reason was because she had the deepest contact with Xinxiang. Her consciousness had once had a very deep relationship with Xinxiang's consciousness in the Soul Sea. Therefore, she was more or less affected by Xinxiang and was able to resist the temptation of the power of creation. The Tao Creation Sage struggled crazily. He only kept growling and did not say much. He seemed to have realized that his willpower was too weak and was actually defeated so quickly. There was clearly something wrong with those Genesis powers. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become so crazy. Chapter 46:22. When Xinxiang was in the distance, he heard the shouts of the Tao Creation Sage and Kai Lian. He also saw the balls of red Chuangshi power, but he did not know that they were Chuangshi power. When he was flying over, he could feel that very evil aura. Xinxiang used the aura released by the Chuangshi power to determine that he needed to use the Chuangshi power inside the 6 realms mirrors to resist. The Chuangshi power that he had refined before had already turned into liquid and was stored inside the 6 realms mirrors. Only the 6 realms mirrors could suppress it, because the 6 realms mirrors had fused and devoured the 2 incantation mountainess. Now it was also the 6 realms mirrors that had activated the liquid Chuangshi power in the bottle, creating a stream of air that could blow away the evil Chuangshi power. After the dozen or so balls of Chuangshi power were blown far away, the Tao Creation Sage's condition gradually recovered, but his expression was still very ugly. In order to resist the temptation of the Chuangshi power, his soul had been ravaged, causing him to be dispirited, as if he was a lamp that had run out of oil. The Chuangshi power is too terrifying. The Tao Creation Sage looked extremely miserable right now. He tidied up his messy hair and looked extremely down and out. Senior, this is not your fault. Kai Lian also sighed softly and comforted him. If it wasn't for the fact that you were able to hold on for a while, you wouldn't have been able to wait for Xinxiang to come. You've done very well. The Tao Creation Sage himself had persevered for a while. Although it was only for a short period of time, it was already very important. If he couldn't hold on until Xinxiang came, once he touched the Chuangshi power, it would be difficult. Is it because of that kind of Chuangshi power? Although Xinxiang did not know what exactly happened, he could roughly guess what it was. "Senior, we finally meet." He came in front of the Tao Creation Sage and smiled. "I'm sorry that you have to see my current appearance." The Tao Creation Sage laughed at himself and said, "That little girl really trusts you. She kept saying that she would wait for you to come. She knows that you are very capable." The Tao Creation Sage's complexion also gradually became much better. "Those Chuangshi power are coming again." Kai Lian suddenly shouted in shock. Dozens of balls of Chuangshi power at this moment actually burst out with bursts of electric light. When they flew over, they were as fast as lightning. Shen Xiang immediately took out the world-defying God Furnace. It's the world-defying God Furnace. It actually grew to this level. The Tao Creation Sage couldn't help but exclaim. This was because he had seen the world-defying God Furnace before. At that time, the world-defying God Furnace was still very weak and was placed in the world-defying stage Divine Palace to protect it. But in Shen Xiang's hands, it had become so powerful. The world-defying God Furnace was raised high by Shen Xiang with one hand. After opening the lid, Shen Xiang activated the heavenly alchemy. A powerful suction force suddenly erupted from the inside of the divine furnace. "Little mirror, help me." Shen Xiang used his divine sense to send a message to Little Mirror. The 6 realms mirrors immediately flew out, and the mirrors shone on the world-defying God Furnace, releasing a strong golden light. Seeing the divine mirror of 6 paths, the Tao Creation Sage was shocked again. Back then, the 6 realms mirrors had been sealed by him, now that it had been unsealed by Shen Xiang. Just like the world-defying God Furnace, it had become even more powerful. Kai Lian and the Tao Creation Sage both looked at Shen Xiang in shock, because they could sense a very pure Chuangshi power being emitted from the 6 realms mirrors. The Chuangshi power that the 6 realms mirrors was currently emitting was the same as the ones that Shen Xiang had refined before. Compared to the red evil Chuangshi power, the Chuangshi power emitted by the 6 realms mirrors was pure and full of righteousness. More than 10 balls of red Chuangshi power that flew over entered the world, defying God Furnace. Then the 6 realms mirrors turned into a lid, covering the 6 realms mirrors with the mirror face down, and then emitting an even stronger golden light. Little sister Xiaojing was now mobilizing an even stronger Chuangshi power to seal the red Chuangshi power inside the world, defying God Furnace. Those dozen or so balls of red Chuangshi power were too strong, so they could only seal them first. When Shen Xiang pulled himself out, they could then purify and refine them. Not long after, little sister Xiaojing successfully sealed those Chuangshi power. Furthermore, she had told Shen Xiang that each of the 15 balls of Chuangshi power contained energy that was like a cursed spirit. Chapter 46:23. Shen Xiang and Silian could see that the Tao Creation Sage's mentality had suffered a great blow, making him look very unconfident and self-doubting. At this moment, he was no longer the expert who controlled the overall situation, but a confused little old man who had lost himself. "Senior, what are you talking about?" Shen Xiang smiled, grabbed him, and said, "Don't be dejected." The divine mirror of 6 paths flew in the air at an extremely fast speed, and the Tao Creation Sage sat on top of it without saying a word. "Senior, it's not your fault that you became like this," Silian said. "It's that kind of creation power that's wrong. It's Sage Etian and the others." No, it's my fault. I almost harmed you. I almost became Sage Etian and the others." The Tao Creation Sage was full of regret and self-blame and laughed at himself. "I am not worthy of being your senior. I am a waste. You can't say that if you really didn't hold on, you would have accepted that kind of creation power long ago." Shen Xiang said, "Senior, your strength is much stronger than Lianer. If you really want to accept the creation power, Lianer can't stop you." "Yes, it's because Senior still has reason and can control the power in his body. Otherwise, if he resisted me with all his strength, I wouldn't be able to stop him. Psyllian could only comfort the Tao creation sage. Little girl, you are right. For many years, you have been right. The Tao creation sage suddenly sighed, looked at the sky and said, I have been thinking that you are wrong for many years. I didn't expect that the one who was wrong was me. Psyllian had a face full of doubt, frowned slightly, and looked at Xinxiang. Xinxiang also shook his head, and did not know why the Tao creation sage said these words. Senior, why do you have this realization? Psyllian did not understand. For many years, I have been the Tao creation sage, and now you are not the Heavenly Mother Sage. The Tao creation sage said, I despised you very much for abandoning the Heavenly Mother Sage's position and power, and scoffed at your actions. Then why do you think I am right now? Psyllian still did not understand. Because you've always wanted to change, and I am stubborn in place, Tao creation sage said. So you are now Psyllian, and I am still Tao creation sage. I still don't understand. Psyllian gently shook her head and said with a puzzled expression, I have been doubting myself for many years. During this time, I have been trying to summon my doppelganger, wanting to become the Heavenly Mother Sage again, but the hope is very slim. Am I wrong or am I right? After Kai Lian finished speaking, she looked at Xinxiang. She wanted to know the answer from Xinxiang. Your direction is right, but your method is wrong. Xinxiang said, the Heavenly Mother Myriad Worlds art that you cultivate is not perfect. But no matter what, it's good that you've taken the step of seeking change. However, the mistakes of the Heavenly Mother Myriad Worlds art can be corrected. Indeed, Tao Creation Sage said, little girl, the reason why you want to change, in essence, still want to get rid of the power of creation. Your Heavenly Mother Myriad Worlds art split your soul into many parts, and even caused you to lose a large amount of memories. Because of the loss of a large amount of memories, there are many things that confuse me. Kai Lian sighed softly. The good thing is that the power of creation has very little effect on you, Tao Creation Sage said. So when you faced that red power of creation before, you did not fall into it. And Kai Lian felt that the reason why she was able to resist it was mainly because of Xinxiang. Because when she was facing the temptation, she immediately thought of Xinxiang, and then she resisted the temptation of the red power of creation. Senior, if you can reflect on this point, then you have to properly comprehend your next path. Xinxiang laughed. It seems that your previous encounter was not a bad thing. Let you know your own big problem. This era does not belong to us anymore. Tao Creation Sage sighed. The era of the 4 great sages will eventually pass. If I continue to hold on to the concept of the 4 great sages era, then I will never be able to walk out. The sage of Tian Fa and the sage of Tian, after they obtain the red power of creation, they will definitely become stronger. Kai Lian was very worried about this and said, furthermore, they are still near that huge mountain. There must be even more power of creation inside that huge red mountain. Yeah, what exactly is going on with that mountain? If there is a large amount of creation power inside, once it erupts, the entire world-defying stage universe will be affected. The Tao Creation Sage was also anxious about this and said, the world-defying stage universe is the last pure land. It can't be destroyed just like that. Then Tao Creation Sage and Kai Lian both looked at Xinxiang. The world-defying stage universe belonged to Xinxiang, just based on the fact that he had created 6 cultivation laws. No matter what, he could be considered the supreme ruler of the world-defying stage universe. Furthermore, the various abilities that Xinxiang had displayed had indeed demonstrated the power of the world-defying stage universe master. Don't look at me. The world-defying stage universe also has its own thoughts. It is impossible for me to completely interfere with the operation of the world-defying stage universe. Xinxiang immediately waved his hand and said, it's just like giving birth to a child. I can't completely interfere with the child's life. At most, I can only help the child lay a good foundation and guide the child on the right path. Shen Xiang had never thought of completely controlling everything in the world-defying stage universe. If it wasn't for the fact that so many things had happened in the world-defying stage universe, he really couldn't be bothered to care. And now, if he didn't interfere, the world-defying stage universe would be destroyed. After hearing Shen Xiang's words, the Tao Creation Sage and Kai Lian had a strange look in their eyes, as well as admiration. Perhaps this is the reason why you were able to create this universe. The Tao Creation Sage sighed. You created it by accident. But no matter what, you accidentally obtained a child, but you are still a father, so you have to be responsible to the end. So you can't let the world-defying stage universe be destroyed. I never said that I didn't care about the world-defying stage universe. Aren't I thinking of ways to protect the world-defying stage universe right now? Shen Xiang curled his lips and said, Senior, am I that irresponsible in your eyes? Chapter 46:24. The Tao Creation Sage suddenly had a face full of worry, because he was extremely afraid of the red creation power and was worried that he would fall into it again. Although Shen Xiang was here this time, he was still afraid that he would not be able to resist the temptation and would make a fool of himself in front of Shen Xiang and Kai Lian. After all, the Tao Creation Sage was an elder, and it was very embarrassing for him to make a fool of himself in front of a junior. Previously, when he was seen by Kai Lian, he even had the heart to die. Although Shen Xiang and Kai Lian had been comforting him, he still felt very embarrassed. Shen Xiang, let's stay as far away from that mountain as possible. The Tao Creation Sage said, if we don't go over, we won't encounter that kind of creation power. I'm afraid that even if we don't go over, that kind of creation power will still come over. Shen Xiang looked at the blood crystal mountain and said, I will try my best not to go over and find a way to escape. Shen Xiang had already asked little sister Xiao Jing to investigate the surroundings to see if she could find a way to break through the blood crystal mountain's domain. Near the blood crystal mountain, there were dozens of large red balls of light. Those were the red creation power that the Sage of Heaven's Sword and the others were currently fusing with. If they succeeded in fusing, their strength would definitely become very strong. Shen Xiang did not know if he would be able to defeat them at that time. Therefore, he had to think of a way to break through the blood crystal mountain's domain as soon as possible. Otherwise, if he was trapped here, even if he was not found by the red creation power, he would still be surrounded and attacked by the Sage of Heaven's Sword and the others. Shen Xiang, is that mountain conscious? Kai Lian asked. I don't know. Shen Xiang shook his head. He could not see it either. In short, that mountain is very dangerous. I guess that if you don't fuse with the red creation power, you won't be able to leave this domain. Huh. The Tao Creation Sage was shocked. He was now completely afraid of that red creation power. Senior, don't worry. We definitely won't fuse with that kind of thing. Shen Xiang said, I'm thinking of a way to break through the mountain's domain. Kai Lian had no choice now. She looked at the Tao Creation Sage and shook her head at him. She and the Tao Creation Sage are the same mood at this time. There are two dignified sages from the universe God see, now unexpectedly so waste material in the face of the predicament, unexpectedly can only watch. Suddenly, dozens of red light balls floated out from the blood crystal mountain and flew toward Shen Xiang and the others at high speed. It was red Genesis power. After the Tao Creation Sage saw it, he suddenly trembled and whispered, Shen Xiang, those things are coming. Divine mirrors of 6 paths immediately flew faster. However, those red powers of creation were extremely fast, and they chased after him closely. What should we do? The Tao Creation Sage took a deep breath and said, Do we really have to yield to this ghost thing? We can only do this for now. Shen Xiang had no choice but to release the world-defying God Furnace and absorb all of the red Chuangshi power. Then he quickly placed the world-defying God Furnace inside the 6 realms mirrors. allowing little sister Xiao Jing to use the power of the Six Realms mirrors to suppress it. Big brother, the current situation of the world-defying God furnace is very unstable. I won't be able to suppress it for long. Little sister Xiao Jing anxiously contacted Xinxiang and said, "If you can't suppress it, you can only release the world-defying God furnace and open it." Little sister Jing, how much longer can you hold on? Xinxiang asked. About 6 hours, he said. These Chuangshi power are too strange. Previously, I suppressed a dozen more groups, and now I have far exceeded my limit. In other words, Xinxiang still had 6 hours to think of a way. He could only look at the blood crystal mountain. Senior, when you first obtained the Chuangshi power, was there a mountain that sealed the Chuangshi power or something? Xinxiang asked. There is something binding the Chuangshi power, but it's not as big as a mountain. The Tao Creation Sage said, "It's about this big of a shell." The Tao Creation Sage gestured with both hands. It was as big as a human head. The one I got back then was this big. Kai Lian also gestured that it was smaller. Xinxiang, how strong is the Chuangshi power you obtained from that mountain? Logically speaking, you should have already obtained that Chuangshi power, right? Then you should be very strong. You shouldn't be afraid of those damn things. The Tao Creation Sage could not see through Xinxiang's strength either. From his point of view, Xinxiang should be able to beat him up. Chapter 46, 25. Xinxiang was only guessing how the seal of the southern fallen forest was formed, and whether it was really related to the universe essence heart. The reason why such a powerful seal could be formed was very complicated. Xinxiang, we don't have much time left. The Tao Creation Sage said, "If we don't leave this damned place quickly, that mountain will definitely release the red Chuangshi power again. My divine furnace can't hold on for long either. The Chuangshi power that I just put in is very violent. I can only hold on for another 6 hours at most." Xinxiang said. His words made the Tao Creation Sage even more anxious, and he anxiously scratched his head. "Senior, I have a way. If we succeed, we might be able to suppress the red Chuangshi power. If we fail, then we might face a bitter battle." Xinxiang said, "I don't have any other good ideas. If you have a way, then give it a try." The Tao Creation Sage said. Xinxiang immediately controlled the 6 realms mirrors and flew towards the blood crystal mountain. "Xinxiang, you want to fly over?" The Tao Creation Sage was suddenly very nervous. Will it be dangerous to just go over like this? Kai Lian was also very worried. She immediately raised her vigilance to prevent any unexpected situations from happening when she got close to the blood crystal mountain. That mountain was originally meant to suppress the Chuangshi power. The reason why it couldn't suppress it should be because the Chuangshi power inside had grown stronger, which was why it broke the balance. Xinxiang said, although the blood crystal mountain was broken through by the Chuangshi power and even changed under the influence of the Chuangshi power, I feel that it still has a certain effect. The Tao Creation Sage and Kai Lian immediately understood what Xinxiang was going to do. Xinxiang was now flying towards the blood crystal mountain. It was obvious that he wanted to extract materials from the mountain and refine something that could restrain the red Chuangshi power. This was indeed a method, and it was very feasible. The only difficulty was how to refine the materials in a short period of time. One had to know that the blood crystal mountain had definitely been decayed by the red Chuangshi power for many years. This meant that a large amount of materials would need to be collected in order to ensure a certain quality. Xinxiang quickly arrived at the mountainside of the blood crystal mountain. "Let's move quickly." Xinxiang said, "This mountain is very hard. We have to work harder to dig and collect." Lian and Tao Creation Sage, although they were powerless when facing the red Chuangshi power, their strength was still very strong. At this moment, using the weapons in their hands, they quickly shattered a large number of blood crystals. Sure enough, it was corroded badly. The Tao creation sage said, "These fragments are too brittle, and they are not as hard as the previous cursed mountain." After the blood crystal mountain was corroded, it could no longer suppress the Genesis power within. However, these blood crystals still contained rich materials. As long as they were purified, they could be restored to their original strength. However, this required a large amount of blood crystals. Xin Xiang also used the Six Realms mirrors to participate in the digging. The Six Realms mirrors flew far away, and then flew over, fiercely colliding with the blood crystal mountain, sending out a large amount of fragments, and then the Six Realms mirrors took those fragments away. "Senior, we need to dig out a lot of blood crystals. In 4 hours, we can dig as much as we can." Xin Xiang said, "Don't worry, although I'm old and useless. Digging these things isn't a problem." The Tao creation sage said, Xilian was also very serious. Using a large blade, she chopped out a large number of fragments for the Six Realms mirrors to absorb. Xin Xiang did not participate because he wanted to sit on top of the Six Realms mirrors to refine the blood crystals. The world-defying God furnace was also released and placed on top of the Six Realms mirrors. Xin Xiang placed a large amount of blood crystals into the world-defying God furnace to refine. It was not easy to refine these blood crystals, as they required special flames. Fortunately, the Six Realms mirrors had swallowed 2 incantation mountain before, and Shen Xiang had refined the 2 cursed spirits into liquid. Through the flames released by the 2, he could refine and purify the blood crystals. A type of golden powder was extracted from the blood crystals. When the powder was absorbed by the world-defying God furnace, it could strengthen the world-defying God furnace and allow the world-defying God furnace to better suppress the red Genesis power. Originally, the world-defying God furnace could only last for 6 hours. But as Xin Xiang continued to refine the blood crystals and purify the golden powder into the divine furnace, it could last for even longer. The blood crystal mountain was indeed suppressing the Genesis power. Shan Xiang guessed that this gigantic mountain was originally a golden crystal, but for some reason it turned blood red and could no longer suppress the Genesis power. Chapter 46:26. Kai Lian and the Tao creation sage were desperately digging for blood crystals. They all wanted to quickly break through the blood crystal mountain's domain, because they were extremely afraid of the red Chuangshi power. They were afraid that the red Chuangshi power would devour them, especially since they were currently on top of the blood crystal mountain. They could feel the terror of the red Chuangshi power even more. "Senior, are you all right?" Shen Xiang saw that the Tao creation sage's expression was somewhat pained and asked. He was currently sitting on top of the Six Realms mirrors, absorbing the blood crystals to strengthen the Six Realms mirrors and the world-defying God furnace. "I'm fine, I can hold on." The Tao creation sage closed his eyes tightly and said, as if he was enduring something, "Senior, did you feel the call of the red Chuangshi power?" Kai Lian, who was not far away, threw a large piece of blood crystal towards the Six Realms mirrors and asked, "Yes, I'm trying to block that damn thing." The Tao creation sage said, "Believe me, I will definitely be able to block it." No wonder he stuck the protective gear refined by Xin Xiang on his head. It turned out that he had always been tempted by the red Chuangshi power. Could it be that what I refined is useless? It shouldn't be. Xin Xiang frowned. It's useful. If it weren't for your things, I would have been defeated a long time ago. The Tao creation sage sighed. There's nothing I can do. I have a very strong Chuangshi power in my body. My soul and body have grown up because of the Chuangshi power all these years. This is my own inner demon. Because Lianer cultivates the Heavenly Mother Myriad Worlds art, her current body is not the same as back then. Furthermore, her soul has been split up many times, so she has been affected very little. The Tao creation sage continued to explain. Kai Lian's current body was refined by Xin Xiang. Furthermore, when she was in the soul state of the purple crystal lotus. She had absorbed the soul energy that Shen Xiang had refined for her to strengthen her soul. Therefore, the Chuangshi power she had obtained back then had become very thin. The Tao Creation Sage was different. Back then, he had obtained a lot of Chuangshi power, and over the years, these Chuangshi power had not decreased in the slightest. In other words, the Chuangshi power in his body also wanted to absorb the red Chuangshi power, which was why he had such a strong thought. Shen Xiang roughly understood where the problem lay. The creation power that the Tao Creation Sage absorbed back then was being bewitched by the red creation power. In other words, he also wanted to devour the red creation power, which was why the Tao Creation Sage found it difficult to resist the temptation. The Tao Creation Sage was currently on the giant blood crystal mountain and was very close to the red Genesis power, which made him suffer greatly. "Senior, please be patient," Shen Xiang said. "With me here, you don't have to worry. Only hope can quickly leave this ghost place." Tao Creation Sage sighed, then silently endure, continue to work. "Shen Xiang, we've been digging here for a long time, but no red Genesis power has appeared. Why is that?" Kai Lian was quite curious. "Maybe it takes time to condense the red Genesis power," Shen Xiang said. "Sage Etian and the others sent out many clumps. Furthermore, to deal with you, they sent out several dozen more clumps. They should not be able to condense more clumps within a short time. That's for sure. The power of creation is also limited. If it was released and you swallowed it, it would be equivalent to losing it for nothing." The Tao Creation Sage said, "Just like the Sage Etian, after absorbing the red creation power, he will definitely be controlled and will work for this mountain. Could it be that this blood crystal mountain has a consciousness?" Shen Xiang was shocked. "This is troublesome. Wouldn't it be clear about our plans?" "I'm not sure, I'm just guessing." Although the Tao Creation Sage was enduring unbearably, he was still desperately digging for blood crystals. This was because he hoped to get more blood crystals so that Shen Xiang could help him refine a set of clothes to wear. Right now, he was only pasting a few golden pieces on his body, and they had a pretty good effect. If he was given a set of clothes, he would definitely be able to completely block the temptation of the red creation power. Boom! In the distance, a loud sound suddenly came from the side of the Sage Etian and the others. Shen Xiang and the others all looked over. They saw a red ball of air explode, and a tall and sturdy man with red skin flew out. "It's the Red Devil Thunder Senior. This bastard has absorbed the red creation power and has become even stronger now." The Tao Creation Sage shouted in shock. "Shen Xiang, are you done yet? We have to leave this damned place as soon as possible." The Red Devil Thunder Senior was indeed very terrifying. Even though they were separated by a distance, they could still feel his terrifying pressure. "Soon," Shen Xiang frowned. "You guys come up first. It will be safer by my side." At the very end, Kai Lian and the Tao Creation Sage blasted out many huge blood crystal fragments, allowing the Six Realms mirrors to move into the mirror. Then they quickly jumped onto the Six Realms mirrors. Chapter 46:27. The Red Devil Thunder Senior's current appearance was very terrifying. After his body was burned by the golden light, his skin was like red mud. He roared angrily. That hoarse roar was filled with viciousness. Although Shen Xiang was able to force the Red Devil Thunder Senior to retreat in an instant, he was very clear that with their current strength, they were not a match for the Red Devil Thunder Senior. The Red Devil Thunder Senior's body was very strong. Shen Xiang had already tested it just now. The golden light that erupted from the Six Realms mirrors was only able to destroy the skin on the surface of the Red Devil Thunder Senior. After absorbing the red Chuangshi power, the Red Devil Thunder Senior's recovery ability was extremely astonishing. At this moment, he was flying in the air, chasing after Shen Xiang and the others. Not long after he flew out, his skin quickly regenerated. "We must break through this domain," The Tao Creation Sage was actually praying because after coming into close contact with the Red Devil Thunder Senior, he could feel the terror of the red Chuangshi power. What kind of price did they have to pay to absorb that red Chuangshi power? Kai Lian looked at the Red Devil Thunder Senior who was chasing after them and felt fear in her heart. If not for Xin Xiang repelling the Red Devil Thunder Senior just now, they would most likely have been heavily injured in an instant. Don't even think about escaping. You won't be able to escape this domain. The Red Devil Thunder Senior laughed sinisterly. You're dead for sure, ha ha ha. Xin Xiang clenched his teeth, because in front of him was the boundary of the domain. If the Six Realms Mirrors was unable to fly out, then he really would not be able to fly out. The Six Realms Mirrors started to emit a golden light. Little Sister Xiao Jing was controlling the Six Realms Mirrors to condense its power, preparing to break through the Blood Crystal Mountain's domain. Little Sister Jing, can you do it? Shen Xiang was already prepared to fight to the death with the Red Devil Thunder Senior. If the Six Realms Mirrors was unable to break through the domain, then they could only fight a bloody battle and try to buy as much time as possible. No problem. Little Sister Xiao Jing was very confident. Xin Xiang and the others, who were sitting on top of the Six Realms Mirrors, looked at the scene on both sides and started to fluctuate, as if they had entered a spatial passageway. The Six Realms Mirrors was breaking through the domain. Not only was the Blood Crystal Mountain's domain very powerful, but it also had the power to block space. Therefore, if they wanted to fly out now, they would have to break through a layer of space tunnel. The Six Realms Mirrors had also become extremely hot at this moment. Xin Xiang and the others had no choice but to stand up and resist the strong heat of the Six Realms Mirrors. Even the Tao Creation Sage, these experts, cannot stand the strong heat of the divine mirror of Six Paths now. That guy is gone. Kai Lian looked behind and said, Can they not leave the field? The Tao Creation Sage said with a smile, If so, then we are out of danger. After the Six Realms Mirrors flew for a while, the golden light on its surface gradually dimmed, and it was no longer hot. We're out. Xin Xiang said, But it's not safe yet. After leaving the area of the Blood Crystal Mountain, they could still see the Blood Crystal Mountain. Above the Blood Crystal Mountain, there was a large mass of red clouds, accompanied by blood-red lightning. What will become of this damned place? After the Tao Creation Sage entered the southern forest, he was hit hard because many things in the southern forest were beyond his knowledge. He was originally the oldest of the four great sages. Although he was down and out, he came out of the ancient devil prison in the Heavenly Mother's sacred desolate, so he could be considered to have a certain strength. But after entering the southern forest, he could not do anything to the protruding forehead people he met. The Six Realms Mirrors was moving forward, and they were all looking at the Blood Crystal Mountain behind them. Safe. The Tao Creation Sage saw the Blood Crystal Mountain gradually turn into a red, indicating that the distance was very far, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. No. Kai Lian suddenly shouted, Look at that! In the direction of the Blood Crystal Mountain, a mass of red mist was rushing over at high speed. Damn it! Chapter 46:28. This was obviously a blood crystal knocked down from the Blood Crystal Mountain. Sage Etian and the others seemed to have a way to condense energy inside the blood crystal and urge it to quickly shoot out. Retreat! Xin Xiang took out Baihu's fan and swept out a gust of wind towards the large group of blood crystals that were flying towards him. A large number of blood crystals, upon coming into contact with the gale that Baihu's fan swept out, suddenly exploded. What was shocking was that what exploded out of the blood crystal was actually the red Chuangshi power. Although it was not as big as the previous ones, it was still very terrifying. It's that damn Chuangshi power. The Tao Creation Sage shouted in shock. Shen Xiang once again used Baihu's fan to sweep the strong wind behind him, blowing the red Chuangshi power away. These Chuangshi power were becoming more and more strange in his eyes. He wanted to avoid coming into contact with them as much as possible, so he did not plan to keep them in the world defying God furnace and the Six Realms mirrors. To Shen Xiang, when facing the red Chuangshi power, he had to be careful, especially when facing this kind of mutated ability. When he had first rushed to the Blood Crystal Mountain to save the Tao Creation Sage, the dozen or so balls of red Chuangshi power he had taken away at that time were still relatively weak. Later on, the dozens of balls of red Chuangshi power he had taken away began to change. Those dozens of balls of Chuangshi power knew how to condense and wanted to break through the world, defying God furnace. The red Chuangshi power hidden in the blood crystals in front of him was even more astonishing. It actually gave people a sense of oppression. In other words, the current red Chuangshi power had already begun to attack the soul. Kai Lian and the Tao Creation Sage suddenly felt tired. They felt extremely sleepy and wanted to close their eyes to rest. "It's the red Chuangshi power that's causing trouble," Xin Xiang said in a low voice. "You have to overcome this fatigue." Although Shen Xiang had blown away a large amount of red Chuangshi power, the moment the blood crystal exploded, the shock wave that was released, accompanied by a wave of soul energy, caused a certain amount of damage to Xin Xiang and the other souls. "Can't we run away?" Not only did the Tao Creation Sage suddenly feel tired, he even felt depressed. At this time, Kai Lian's mood had also changed greatly. She had a look of despair and could not speak. Shen Xiang did not expect this kind of power of creation to have such an ability. Then, a large number of blood crystals flew over. Here it comes again. Shen Xiang knew very well that even if the blood crystal was blown away, it would still be affected by the energy wave after it exploded. At that time, the mood of Xilian and Tao Creation Sage will be affected again, and they will do something stupid. "Sister Mirror, hurry up and use the Six Paths Tai Chi spell array." Xin Xiang suddenly shouted, "Increase the range. Can you use it while flying at high speed?" "That's completely possible." The Six Realms mirrors suddenly started to rotate. The mirror that Shen Xiang and the others were on did not rotate, but the outside was rotating. A Six Paths Tai Chi formation was formed, and a Six Paths Tai Chi domain was formed. The range of the domain was not small, forming a very large ring. The divine mirror of Six Paths was in the center of the ring. When a large number of blood crystals flew over and touched the outer ring of the domain, they started to rotate along with the outer ring of the domain and were pulled to the outermost ring of the domain. As a result, a large number of blood crystals were unable to fly close to the divine mirror of Six Paths. Shen Xiang quickly took out 2 handfuls of golden powder and scattered it on Kai Lian and the Tao Creation Sage's bodies to help them exorcise evil. The golden powder he extracted from the blood crystal could restrain the red Chuangshi power. Kai Lian and the Tao Creation Sage had been invaded by the red Chuangshi power just now. Chapter 4630. It's not like that. The Tao Creation Sage shook his head and said, "Xin Xiang, you did not cultivate multiple soul C. You can't understand how strong one more soul C is." "Is it?" Xin Xiang frowned and said, "Well, although I have cultivated the third soul C, I don't feel that it is that strong. Maybe there is a problem with that soul C." Shen Xiang did cultivate the third soul C before, but because he cultivated it through the cursed spirit, and then the cursed spirit had a problem, so he couldn't enter his third soul C. So he didn't have 3 soul C now. "What? You've already cultivated the third soul C? This is impossible." The Tao Creation Sage looked at Xin Xiang with a surprised face. "You can cultivate the third soul C in this place." He found it hard to believe. Xilian was also surprised. It is reasonable to say that it is difficult to cultivate the soul C in the world-defying stage universe. You can cultivate the third one? Xilian knew that Xin Xiang had the second layer soul C before, in her opinion. Xin Xiang should not be able to cultivate the third. How do I say it? Xin Xiang scratched his head, sighed. I cultivated it, but I can't go in. I could have gone in, but then there were some problems, causing the third soul C to be sealed. Cailian and the Tao creation sage expressed that it was difficult to understand. Cultivating the soul C. You can go in. How can you not go in? The Tao creation sage was very puzzled. Xinxiang, talk about your situation. Cailian said. Xinxiang simply said that he absorbed the cursed spirit to cultivate the third layer soul C, and then the cursed spirit wanted to devour him, causing him to have to purify the cursed spirit's power, and then he could not enter the third layer soul C. You can't enter the third layer soul C, or the third layer soul C is not there. The Tao creation sage was also very interested in Xinxiang's situation. It's still there, I can feel it. I just can't go in. Xinxiang shook his head. He didn't know what was going on either. Maybe my situation is very complicated. I can only slowly explore it in the future. Could it be that I can cultivate a soul C after absorbing Genesis energy? What is the principle behind this? Cailian said, I don't know if I can give it a try. Don't try it for now. Tao creation sage quickly waved his hand and said, Little girl, we know nothing about creation power now. We can't recklessly try. I only succeeded by accident, and the process was very thrilling. Lien, senior is right. Even I don't dare to try it now, Xinxiang said. However, the laws of the world-defying universe do not seem to allow the cultivation of soul C. Cailian said, if we don't use the creation power to cultivate a new soul C, then our strength will definitely stagnate. If I cultivate a new divine sense C, will my strength increase? Xinxiang asked, how obvious is the increase? You don't need to raise your 6th Tao cultivation to be able to obtain a very strong power? When Xinxiang had cultivated the 3rd layer of Soul C, he could feel that there was a slight increase, but that was all. Although the 6th Tao cultivation is very important, after you cultivate a new Soul C, that feeling is different. Although the 6th Tao cultivation will not increase by much, the 6th Tao origin energy will increase by a lot. Tao Creation Sage said, it should be said that the quality of the 6th Tao origin energy has increased. Cailian said, looks like I have to study it properly in the future. Xinxiang nodded. The cultivation laws of the world-defying universe are now restricted to the 6th Tao cultivation laws. There are no laws of Soul C cultivation. Tao Creation Sage shook his head and said, I feel that the extra Soul C that Sage Etian and the others have is most likely someone else's Soul C. What's going on? Xinxiang opened his mouth in shock. He has fused with the creation power, so it is very likely that he will obtain a Soul C at the same time. This Soul C was originally ready-made, so they have fused with one or more Soul C. Tao Creation Sage said, the Soul C that I cultivated seems to be through this method. In essence, it is not something that I cultivated myself. How can I cultivate a Soul C in the universe, God C? Xinxiang suddenly thought of Etianshu. Etianshu originally felt that Xinxiang could cultivate a Soul C, so she was very interested in him. Cultivating a Soul C in the universe, God C, is also to obtain a Soul C and then fuse with it, Cailian said. Although the process seems to be something that we cultivated ourselves, it is actually still a fusion of Soul C. Tao Creation Sage did not speak, because for many years he thought that he cultivated the Soul C himself. But now it seems that the Soul C was not cultivated by them, but after they obtained it, they fused with it themselves. Doesn't this mean that your Soul C is someone else's? Xinxiang took a deep breath and looked at Cailian and Tao Creation Sage with a strange expression. It should be. Tao Creation Sage sighed and said, there is no Soul C cultivation law at all. Soul C is ready-made. I don't know how it was formed, and I don't know how it was formed. In the end, it was obtained by us, and then we fused it with our own soul. But my 2nd layer of Soul C seems to have been cultivated by me, Xinxiang said. At that time, I didn't know what Universe God See was, and I hadn't come into contact with the creation power. Kai Lian and Tao Creation Sage both fell into deep thought, because the formation of Xin Xiang Soul Sea was too strange. Outside of the Universe God See, no one should be able to cultivate a soul sea. Chapter 46:31. Lian sat on top of the 6 realms mirrors, closed her eyes, and tried to call out to her clone, while the Tao Creation Sage was familiarizing himself with the red Chuangshi power he had just obtained. Shen Xiang could see that the Tao Creation Sage was still very excited at this time. After all, he had finally obtained the red Chuangshi power, and obtaining this power did not cost him anything. Shen Xiang, you were with my clone before? Are they all in the 6 realms mirrors? Lian also knew that Shen Xiang's 6 realms mirrors had a different world. They're all fine now. Shen Xiang nodded. Lian looked at Shen Xiang, then looked at the Tao Creation Sage and secretly asked Shen Xiang, "Did anything happen between you and them? You'd better answer me truthfully. Don't worry, I won't blame you." Although Lian was using her divine sense to transmit her voice, she still expressed a very gentle tone. She really wouldn't blame Shen Xiang, but she wanted to know about this matter. Shen Xiang was a little puzzled. Why would Lian ask that? Could it be that in Lian's eyes he was that unbearable? "Lianer, why do you think that something happened between me and your clone?" Shen Xiang did not directly answer Lian. "I just feel that this is my intuition, a very strong intuition." Lian seemed to be very sure, and said with a sound transmission, "Although I am still unable to read all of the clone's memories, I still have a very strange feeling. Well, something did happen, but it was with one of my doppelgangers. Furthermore, I didn't take the initiative." Shen Xiang was also a little embarrassed. "Lianer, do you want to know the process? To be honest, this clone of yours is very interesting. She has mastered a very powerful technique that can restrain me. I was taken down by her using that technique." Lian frowned slightly from her expression, although she appeared to be a little angry. She didn't know why, but in her heart, she actually had a very strange feeling of excitement. Shen Xiang looked at Kai Lian. He couldn't tell what kind of personality the Kai Lian in front of him had. It looked like the Lotus Empress personality, but it had the steadiness and vicissitudes of the Heavenly Mother's personality, and then a little of the gentleness and loveliness of Lian Er's personality. "What did you and my clone go through? Tell me about it." "Oh, right, about my clone in your divine mirror of 6 paths. Don't tell Senior," Kai Lian warned. She did not want to let the Tao Creation Sage know this, lest the Tao Creation Sage think of anything. Then, Shen Xiang talked about Feng Qing's soulless illusion, and the fact that his wives and concubines also mastered the soulless illusion. Then he talked about the battle with the soulless village. He also described in detail how he was taken down by Feng Qing. "How interesting. I never thought that my clone would have such an experience. Soulless illusion. I really want to experience it," Kai Lian exclaimed to Shen Xiang after listening. They were using their divine sense to communicate. Although the Tao Creation Sage beside them couldn't hear them, he could see that they were communicating and didn't expose them. Moreover, in the eyes of the Tao Creation Sage, it was just a couple exchanging feelings or something. He even slightly revealed his aunt's smile. "Lian, I feel that you don't need to take back your clone." Shen Xiang didn't want Feng Qing to be taken back, so he said his thoughts. "Maybe I'm selfish, but I really don't want Feng Qing to disappear like this." "Don't worry, I've comprehended a new method. I don't need to take them back. I can also become stronger through them. At the same time, they won't be harmed." Kai Lian nodded gently. "Actually, they reincarnated through my split soul, which is equivalent to a new life. My relationship with them shouldn't be considered mother and daughter. It's sister. If I take them back, then I'll be equivalent to obliterating them. I can indeed become stronger, but this will cause my cultivation of the Heavenly Mother's myriad worlds art to become more and more crooked, and finally walk the path of evil." Kai Lian herself had a sense of propriety. Isn't that so? They were forcefully taken back by you, so there will definitely be resentment. It will definitely have a great impact on you in the future. Xinxiang also thought so. Xinxiang, then what are your feelings for Fangqing now? Kai Lian asked. I don't know, everything depends on fate. Xinxiang sighed. You don't know her. Kai Lian also sighed softly. Maybe some things are destined. Because Kai Lian was also very clear that her Lian, or personality, as well as Zillian, had an unbreakable relationship with Xinxiang. At this time, the Tao Creation Sage coughed a few times. Cough, cough, cough. He opened his eyes and said, I just seriously felt my new soul see and made a new discovery. Senior, what is the discovery? Is it a good direction or a bad direction? Kai Lian asked. I'm not sure if it's good or bad. The Tao Creation Sage said with a serious face, the soul sea that I just cultivated has remnants of the red Genesis energy, but that Genesis energy can be completely controlled by me. Moreover, the Genesis energy in the soul sea is very different from the outside. Could it be that Sage Etian and the others used the Genesis energy in the soul sea, so they mastered many strange and powerful techniques? Xinxiang said. Chapter 46:32. Xinxiang and the others continued to fly on the divine mirror of 6 paths for a day, making sure that the Heavenly Sword Sage and the others did not catch up, and then landed at the bottom of a mountain. This mountain happened to have a cave, and they entered the cave. Xilian was patrolling outside, while Xinxiang and the Tao Creation Sage were in the cave, studying the situation of the soul. The Tao Creation Sage had just cultivated the soul sea, and there was a soul inside, but it was sealed. Xinxiang now entered the Tao Creation Sage's soul sea. Although it was only consciousness, it was immersive after entering. He observed the environment of the soul sea. After the formation of the soul sea, the environment inside was a combination of many factors. For example, the Tao Creation Sage's soul sea looked red now, and it was definitely related to the red creation power. Senior, where is that soul? Xinxiang looked at the sky and then shouted. After the Tao Creation Sage heard Xinxiang's voice, his consciousness also entered his soul sea and turned into a long-bearded old man, appearing beside Xinxiang. Right there. The Tao Creation Sage pointed to the front. I can't see anything. Xinxiang looked around. The ground was very flat red soil, and the sky was dyed red. The world was completely empty. There was nothing at all. You can't see? It shouldn't be. It's right there, and it's still very big. The Tao Creation Sage pointed to the front, frowning. Strange. Why can't you see it? Logically speaking, you should be able to see it when you enter my soul sea. Xilian had entered Xinxiang's soul sea before and saw his killing scarlet dragon. Is there really something over there? Or only you can see it? Xinxiang looked in the direction that the Tao Creation Sage pointed, and there was really nothing over there. How about I take you to see if you can touch it? The Tao Creation Sage said, and then led Xinxiang to walk over. This is also equivalent to taking meaning, to get close to the sealed soul. After Xinxiang got closer, his expression gradually turned solemn. He said, I can't see, but I can sense it. Although it was only Xinxiang's consciousness that entered the sea of soul, his expression was very real, just like in reality. Xinxiang, have you found anything? The Tao Creation Sage saw Xinxiang's reaction and hurriedly asked. I'm not sure yet. Xinxiang just shook his head. After coming to this place, he found that he seemed to have come into contact with the cursed spirit. The 2 cursed spirits that he had come into contact with at the Incantation Mountain felt the same way. Senior, I told you before that I had refined 2 cursed spirits. Xinxiang said, now that I am here, I have a familiar feeling. You mean the soul of my soul sea is sealed, and the cursed spirit you have contacted is very similar? Tao Creation Sage asked. Yes, it's very similar. Xinxiang nodded. It's very likely to be the same thing. Is that a soul or not? The Tao Creation Sage was also very curious and said, if it is a soul, what ability do the two cursed spirits that you refined before have? The ability of the protruding forehead and the lost soul village is given by the two cursed spirits. Xin Xiang said. So that's how it is. The Tao Creation Sage suddenly realized and said, the ability of the soul is determined by the recipient. Yes, Xin Xiang nodded and said, but this kind of soul has side effects. This is not a good thing. The Tao Creation Sage sighed. Although it sounds very tempting, it can let people obtain powerful strength, but this thing is too evil. I'll try it now. Can I get it away? Xin Xiang said. All right. The Tao Creation Sage nodded. Although Shen Xiang could not see, he could feel that after his hands touched, he immediately operated the grasping soul devil spell. Chapter 46:33. Red Devil Thunder Sr. rushed to the front. Although he was filled with killing intent, after he flew over, he only released a huge red energy barrier that enveloped Xinxiang and the others. Sage Etian and the others also rushed over and surrounded the red energy barrier. Then they all released a type of red energy to strengthen the red energy barrier. At this time, Xinxiang and the others were trapped inside and were unable to break through the energy barrier. Ha ha ha, enjoy the gift. Red Devil Thunder Sr. laughed sinisterly. No one can refuse this gift. You must accept it. Even though I hate you very much, as long as you enjoy this gift, from today onwards, you will be our companions. Sage Etian sneered. This time let's see how you escape. Soon after, hundreds of balls of red Chuangshi power drilled into the red energy barrier and flew toward Xinxiang and the others. Are we done for? Although the Tao Creation Sage had just cultivated a soul sea, he was currently facing a large group of people whose strength far surpassed his. What made him feel the most powerless was that the red Chuangshi power was extremely effective at restraining him, and there were still so many of them. I still have one more move. Shen Xiang took a deep breath and said, all of you enter the 6 realms mirrors. Leave this place to me. Shen Xiang hated Sage Etian and the others to the core. However, his current strength was limited. Facing this group of people, he could only temporarily retreat. And this time he knew that if he blindly retreated, the other party would think that they were too cowardly and that they could be casually pinched. Therefore, he had to display enough strength to intimidate Sage Etian and the others. Otherwise, the other party would only chase after them again and again. Xilian and the Tao Creation Sage were somewhat worried. They were very clear that with Shen Xiang's current strength, if he wanted to break through the predicament in front of him, he would definitely have to make a great sacrifice. Don't worry about me, Shen Xiang said in a deep voice. You guys can temporarily enter the 6 realms mirrors. Tao Creation Sage and Xilian did not say anything more. They cooperated with Xinxiang and quickly entered the 6 realms mirrors. Jing Girl, open the map of the universe, Xinxiang said. The liquid that I refined using the cursed spirit before can be used up. The cursed spirit was the power of creation. After being refined into liquid by Xinxiang, it also contained a lot of energy. During this period of time, the 6 realms mirrors would occasionally absorb that liquid as energy to drive the 6 realms mirrors. Little sisters Xiao Jing and Xinxiang had the same thoughts and knew what Xinxiang was going to do now, so they immediately activated the 6 realms mirrors to open the world-defying map of the universe. The moment it opened, the 6 realms mirrors also expanded. It was originally daytime, but with the appearance of the world-defying map of the universe, a domain that was like night gradually appeared. Dozens of huge stars floated in the air, and waves of energy descended. When the 6 realms mirrors absorbed the energy, not only did it expand, it also spun faster. As the 6 realms mirrors gradually grew bigger and spun, the red energy barrier was also broken through. The 6 realms mirrors quickly rose into the sky, and the mirror faced Sage Etion and the others. After realizing how terrifying the Six Realms mirrors was, the Red Devil Thunder Reverend was the first to make a move and threw a punch at the mirror that covered the sky. The fist exploded, and the sound of thunder rumbled. A red fist wind condensed into a gigantic fist filled with red lightning. Like a gigantic mountain that could hold up the sky, it rushed towards the Six Realms mirrors in the air. The Six Realms mirrors that was originally spinning suddenly stopped, and countless stars suddenly appeared on the clear surface of the mirror. The stars spun in the mirror like a huge whirlpool, shining with resplendent starlight. The center of the whirlpool was pitch black, as if it had an extremely terrifying devouring power. The theory behind the Red Devil Thunder Reverend's punch seemed to be able to destroy the heavens and earth. But when it approached the Six Realms mirrors, it was actually swallowed by the black hole in the center of the whirlpool. This scene caused the Sage Etion, the Sage Tian Fa, and the others to be dumbstruck. The fear in their hearts couldn't help but surge. This was because they were very clear that the power of the Red Devil Thunder Reverend's punch just now was not that easy to receive. Furthermore, it had only erupted with the help of the theory of the red Chuangshi power. However, it was swallowed just like that, and there was no reaction at all. The Red Devil Thunder Reverend and the others looked up at the mirror surface of the Six Realms mirrors, looked at the countless huge stars that formed the whirlpool of stars, and immediately felt like dust. At this moment, it was as if they were looking at a corner of the world-defying universe. However, this corner was so vast and magnificent. Just as their hearts were filled with fear, the Six Realms mirrors suddenly trembled. The black hole in the center of the whirlpool of stars suddenly exploded with red light, and a red energy beam shot towards the ground. Chapter 46:34. Fortunately, Xin Xiang had refined the cursed spirit into a liquid before, which allowed the Six Realms mirrors to have enough power to block that punch and even rebound it back. Otherwise, the Six Realms mirrors that released the world-defying map of the universe would not have been able to withstand that punch. It could be seen how terrifying the red Chuangshi power was, but now the Six Realms mirrors and the world-defying God Furnace had suppressed hundreds of balls of red Chuangshi power. The Six Realms mirrors and the world-defying God Furnace had both been improved by adding a large amount of blood crystals to restrain the red Chuangshi power. Right now, there were simply too many red Chuangshi power, and Xin Xiang did not have the time to extract the golden powder to strengthen the world-defying God Furnace and the Six Realms mirrors. If you really can't hold on any longer, then let go of all the red Chuangshi power, Xin Xiang said. Since things have come to this, we can only give up. Xin Xiang and little sister Xiaojing were both reluctant to part with the red Chuangshi power. After all, they were all powerful energies that could be purified. Xin Xiang was still hoping to use these red Chuangshi power to comprehend a new soul cultivation method. Furthermore, he wanted to study the red Chuangshi power. How exactly was it formed? Could the world-defying stage universe also produce this kind of energy? But right now, he really couldn't think of any way to suppress the hundreds of balls of red Chuangshi power, so he could only regretfully give up on them. Big brother, there's another way. Little sister Xiaojing said to Xin Xiang, if it's too risky, then forget it. We can't take any more risks now. Although Xin Xiang had scared away the Sage of Heaven Go and the others, it was only temporary. Once the Sage of Heaven Go and the others caught up, they would be in great danger. Therefore, he was not allowed to take any risks right now. I know my method is not risky, and it's very stable. What method? Xin Xiang asked. Big brother, the world-defying stage universe is the heavens. Your heavenly alchemy, combined with the world-defying map of the universe. What do you think will happen? The world-defying stage universe map performed well before. Although I am very tired now, I can still hold on for a while. If we consume the last bit of creation divine liquid, we might be able to temporarily suppress those hundreds of balls of red Chuangshi power. It's indeed feasible, Xinxiang said, "Let the Tao Creation Sage Senior and the Enner come out to help us patrol outside. That's all right. What wind blowing grass. I want to stop it is easy." That's right. With the cooperation of the Six Realms mirrors and the world-defying map of the universe, we might be able to suppress those hundreds of red Chuangshi power in one go. Little sister Xiaojing was also suddenly very excited, because absorbing the Chuangshi power could also make her stronger. The prerequisite was that the absorbed Genesis energy had to be purified. Shen Xiang immediately began. Sage Etian and the others had suffered disastrous losses. Now that so many of their people had been killed, they would definitely be in a daze for a short period of time. Therefore, they would not immediately chase after them. They were also afraid that Shen Xiang would use the world-defying map of the universe to destroy them again, so they could only go back first. They also had to strengthen their own troops before they dared to chase after Xinxiang. Kai Lian and the Tao Creation Sage did not know how Xinxiang managed to escape, but Xinxiang had told them before that there were only a few people left in the Sage Etian and the others, and the rest were all killed. When they came out of the Six Realms mirrors, they were all asking for the details. They really wanted to know what kind of move Xinxiang had used to kill so many people. Xinxiang did not tell them immediately, but asked them to help him patrol the surroundings. The Six Realms mirrors floated in the air just like that, while Xinxiang let them stay even further away. He even told them that they would know how he killed so many ancient demon prisoners later. After Kai Lian and the Tao Creation Sage left, the Six Realms mirrors began to grow larger. The world-defying map of the universe also gradually appeared in the air and formed a domain. The domain was like night, and a large number of stars appeared. The Tao Creation Sage and Kai Lian looked at the sky as if they were traveling through the universe and saw a large number of galaxies. Xinxiang sat on top of the Six Realms mirrors and released the world-defying God Furnace. The world-defying God Furnace was currently surrounded by an evil red mist and was trembling crazily. Xinxiang controlled the Six Realms mirrors to cooperate with him and began to use the heavenly alchemy. Xinxiang sat cross-legged beside the world-defying God Furnace, and the world-defying God Furnace gradually grew in size, like a small mountain. Xinxiang appeared to be extremely weak in front of the world-defying God Furnace, but after he activated the heavenly alchemy, his soul actually released a strange force. The Tao Creation Sage and Kai Lian patrolled in the distance, and from time to time, they would look into the middle of the Six Realms mirrors. They could see the gigantic world-defying God Furnace, and Xinxiang was already enveloped by the aura and light emitted by the world-defying God Furnace, making him invisible. As Xinxiang's soul released a wave of force, the Tao Creation Sage and Kai Lian suddenly saw that outside of Xinxiang's body, there was an illusion that was gradually expanding. Chapter 46:35. At this time, Xinxiang was not too sure how terrifying the state he had entered was, and this state was not something that could be entered at any time. Sometimes it was just like this. By accident, he could enter a realm that he had never imagined. However, after deliberately trying many times in the future, he was still unable to enter again. Xinxiang only realized that when his soul cooperated with the world-defying map of the universe and used the heavenly alchemy technique, his soul seemed to have grasped a very strange and powerful power. When he went to burn the red Chuangshi power, he could do it with ease. He didn't feel that it was that difficult, and his speed was also very fast. It's still not enough. Even though Xinxiang had released his soul's power, he was still unable to completely suppress the red Chuangshi power in one go. Right now, he could only slightly suppress the hundreds of balls of red Chuangshi power and purify a portion of their consciousness. Actually, it was already not easy for him to do this. After all, his current cultivation was not high, especially since his current soul sea was still very small. It was already very rare for him to be able to weaken a few hundred balls of red Chuangshi power. Xinxiang's idea of weakening the red Chuangshi power was also very simple. It was to purify a portion of the evil consciousness and this way, the red Chuangshi power would also weaken. Although the amount of energy contained would be much less, it was at least safe. In the end, Shen Xiang unknowingly released all of his soul's power. It was as if he had turned into a cocoon, wrapping up hundreds of balls of red Chuangshi power and storing them inside the world-defying God furnace. This way, if he needed it in the future, he would be able to extract the red Chuangshi power from it. Each time he would extract 1 or 2 balls, step by step, purify them bit by bit, and refine them into Chuangshi God liquid. After solving this problem, Shen Xiang felt much more relaxed. As for little sister Little Mirror, because she had continuously released the world-defying map of the universe, she was also very tired and needed a good rest. The world-defying map of the universe gradually dissipated, and after the domain disappeared, the Tao Creation Sage and Kai Lian also felt much more relaxed. Previously, they had felt a lot of pressure. The world-defying map of the universe made them feel extremely small, as if they were dust. Their lives seemed to be taken away by the universe at any time. Shen Xiang kept the world-defying God furnace, rode on the 6 realms mirrors, and flew to Kai Lian and Tao Creation Sage's side and laughed. "You didn't wait for me for too long, right?" "Not long, just half a day." The Tao Creation Sage looked at Shen Xiang and said with emotion, "Shen Xiang, I can't see you now. You don't seem to have a cultivation as high as mine, but I feel like I can't beat you at all. Senior, I'm just an alchemist." Shen Xiang laughed and said, "So I definitely can't beat you." "I don't believe you." The Tao Creation Sage also laughed and said, "Seeing you have such growth, I am very happy." "Shen Xiang, I seem to feel my universe life providence." Xilian suddenly said, "I wonder if it's an illusion." "Did you suddenly feel it? Or have you always had this feeling?" Shen Xiang quickly asked. In fact, he couldn't determine where Xilian's universe life providence was. He only knew a general direction. The sudden feeling, could it be that my universe life providence is moving? Is that why I feel this way? Xilian said with a frown. That shouldn't be the case. Your universe life providence should be sealed. The Tao Creation Sage stroked his beard, pondered for a moment, and continued. You can suddenly feel it. Is your universe life providence being threatened? That's why it has such an intense reaction. Sage Etion and the others have just been scared away. They shouldn't be able to threaten my universe life providence. Xilian said, then who could it be? The southern fallen forest has always been very mysterious. We have already seen many phenomena here that are beyond our knowledge. The Tao Creation Sage said, I'm sure that in this damned place there are definitely other strong things. Lian, can you feel the direction? Shen Xiang asked. Xilian pointed in a direction. After Shen Xiang looked over, he nodded and said, It feels the same as me. He immediately controlled the 6 realms mirrors to fly over. Shan Xiang had his own guesses, because he knew that Xue Xianxian and the others had entered the southern fallen forest a long time ago. Furthermore, he felt that Lu Menger and the others should have already found Xilian's universe life providence and the universe heart palace. He did not say anything about this because he was worried that Xilian would think too much. He had to wait until he was sure of the situation before he could discuss it with Xilian. I have a new guess about the southern fallen forest. The Tao Creation Sage sat on the 6 realms mirrors that was flying at high speed and looked ahead. Tell me about it. Shen Xiang said. Heavenly Mother Holy Desolate is attached to the southern fallen forest. The Tao Creation Sage said, Originally the southern fallen forest was not very big, but because the southern fallen forest had a large amount of that kind of creation power, the Heavenly Mother Holy Desolate gradually parasitized the southern fallen forest. Chapter 46:36. Because they had already seen the Blood Crystal Mountain before, now that they saw this white crystal mountain, they immediately thought that there might be a large amount of Chuangshi power inside this mountain. The feeling that the Blood Crystal Mountain gave off was that it was demonic and evil. As for the white crystal mountain in front of them, it looked solemn and grand. It emitted a holy white light, giving off a very peaceful sense of security. There were also balls of white light floating around the white crystal mountain. When Shen Xiang saw those balls of light, he immediately confirmed that they were Chuangshi power. The white Chuangshi power looked stronger than the red Chuangshi power. The various things in the southern fallen forest have already exceeded my understanding. The Tao Creation Sage looked at the white crystal mountain for a long time and sighed. This mountain is much bigger than the blood crystal mountain from before, and is definitely much stronger. Could it be that the previous blood crystal mountain was evil, and this mountain is good? Xinxiang frowned. Not necessarily. In short, as long as it's a Chuangshi power, we have to be careful, Kai Lian said. She looked very cautious right now. In comparison, the Tao Creation Sage was much more relaxed. The Tao Creation Sage even closed his eyes and bathed in the holy light of the white crystal mountain, looking like he was enjoying himself. There's nothing wrong with this mountain. The Tao Creation Sage said, everything has two sides. The Chuangshi power is also divided into good and evil. The red Chuangshi power from before is the evil Chuangshi power. Then what about the Chuangshi power you obtained back then? Xinxiang asked. Both good and evil. The Tao Creation Sage replied. Evil, Kai Lian said with certainty, because back then, after absorbing those Chuangshi power, most people or creatures would end up becoming ancient demon prisoners. The Tao Creation Sage was silent. Back then, we obtained those Chuangshi power, but we were tortured until now. Kai Lian continued. So we have to be on guard against the Chuangshi power in front of us. From Shen Xiang's point of view, no matter what kind of Chuangshi power it was, he had to use the world-defying God furnace to refine it. He had used the world-defying God furnace to refine these things before, and it had the effect of purifying them. Lianer, is your universe fate here? Xinxiang asked. I'm not too sure. Perhaps a portion of it is here. Xilian said. After my universe fate left me, maybe it grew by itself. I don't know if it's still my universe fate. Part of it. Can a universe life providence be split? Xinxiang asked in surprise. The little girl's cultivation of Tianmu 10,000 world secret may also affect her universe destiny, said the Tao Creation Sage. For many years, Xilian had been splitting her soul to cultivate avatars. If her universe fate was affected, she might have split into many parts. Xinxiang felt a headache coming on. It wasn't easy for him to find Xilian's universe life providence, but now he was being told that it was only a small portion. This should be the core part. Kai Lian said again, I can feel it. Xinxiang controlled the divine mirror of 6 paths to approach. One had to know that they had been attacked by a rain of arrows before. So Xinxiang was very careful now. Someone is flying over. Xinxiang suddenly said in a low voice, Everyone prepare for battle! Sure enough, dozens of people flew over from the front. They were all wearing white clothes and looked like they were floating in the air. They emitted the same sparkling white light as the white crystal mountain. When they got closer, they realized that their temperaments were very cold and their skin was like jade. Regardless of whether they were men or women, their bodies were all slender and tall. After they flew over, they floated in front of Xinxiang and the others. Are you the Tao Creation Sage and the Heavenly Mother Sage? The leader, an oval-faced woman, asked in a cold voice and then looked at Xilian and the Tao Creation Sage. This old man is the Tao Creation Sage. Seeing these people, the Tao Creation Sage also seemed very polite. Then the leading woman in white looked at Xilian and asked, Who is the Heavenly Mother Sage? I am the reincarnation of the Heavenly Mother Sage, but I am no longer the former Heavenly Mother Sage. My name is Xilian now, Kai Lian said. Xilian had 3 personalities. Among them, the Lianer personality was together with the Lotus Emperor personality, so they were all considered Xilian. Chapter 46:37. The white mist in front of Xin Xiang gradually thickened, and just like that, the Myriad Universe Mountain disappeared into the white mist. He rode on the Six Realms mirrors and slowly flew over. At the same time, he released his powerful consciousness to check if there was a barrier in front of him. After investigating, he did not discover anything. There was no barrier blocking him. Aren't they too confident? They don't even have a barrier? After Xin Xiang became invisible, he increased the speed of the Six Realms mirror's flight and entered the white fog. After entering, he flew for a distance, but there was still nothing in front of him. Then he continued to fly. After flying for 2 full days, he finally saw a light in front of him. He finally flew out of the thick white fog. But after flying out, there was a lush green forest in front of him. He did not see the Myriad Universe Mountain. It was as if he had only passed through the thick white fog. And the Myriad Universe Mountain was not in the thick fog. Good heavens, this method is indeed brilliant. Xin Xiang looked behind him. He now realized that the Myriad Universe Mountain was not as easy to infiltrate as he had imagined. Could it be hidden in a space? Xin Xiang frowned, then let the Six Realms mirror sense it. Little sister, Xiao Jing, did not sense it. Big brother, the Myriad Universe Mountain is too transcendent. We can't use our knowledge to understand it. If you can't sneak in, if the Tao Creation Sage and Lianer are in danger, what should we do? Why is Lianer's universe fate in this direction? Xin Xiang rubbed his chin as he pondered. Why did the Myriad Universe Mountain take away Lianer's universe fate? Big brother, do you still remember when we approached the Myriad Universe Mountain? There were suddenly a lot of arrows. Little sister, Xiao Jing suddenly asked. I remember. Xin Xiang nodded his head. That rain of arrows shouldn't be the defense of the Myriad Universe Mountain. The Myriad Universe Mountain is so powerful, and the power of the rain of arrows is so weak, it doesn't seem like it came from the Myriad Universe Mountain at all. Could it be that there are others nearby? When they attacked you, they mistook you for people from the Myriad Universe Mountain. Little sister, Xiao Jing guessed. Very likely. Xin Xiang sat on the Six Realms mirrors and thought for a while, then said, Otherwise we will expose ourselves and see if we can lure those guys out. The Myriad Mountain was so powerful, but there were enemies ambushing the Myriad Mountain outside. That meant that the Myriad Mountain had enemies, and they definitely understood the Myriad Mountain very well. I'll try and see if I can contact Lianer first. Xin Xiang said, I hope Lian can maintain a tacit understanding with me. Xin Xiang still had a trick up his sleeve. Maybe he could contact Kai Lian. That was Fang Qing and her group of wives and concubines. They were all Kai Lian's doppelgangers. Moreover, this place was not too far away from Kai Lian. Perhaps he could contact them. The premise was that Kai Lian needed to continuously transmit information to them. Qing, can you and your young ladies enter your soulless illusion together? I need to contact my friend. Xin Xiang suddenly said, Elder brother Xin, I'll try. Fang Qing lived a very comfortable life in the Six Realms mirrors and didn't even want to leave it, because to them, as long as they could live a peaceful life, that would be the best. Kai Lian had entered the Six Realms mirrors before, but she did not directly face Fang Qing and had been avoiding them. Although she had been summoning her clones, she was not prepared to meet and communicate with them. Shen Xiang believed that Kai Lian was worried that after meeting, she would affect her independent personality and thoughts, worried that her memories would be synchronized with her clone. Once the memories were synchronized, the clone's thoughts in the future would definitely be greatly impacted. Not long after, Fang Qing sent news. Elder brother Xin, that sister Kai Lian, said that they are very safe in the Myriad Mountain. You don't have to worry. Fang Qing's voice sounded. Ask her how to enter the Myriad Mountain. Xin Xiang was a little relieved, but he was still worried. After a while, Fang Qing said, Sister Kailian said that it's very difficult to enter the myriad Aeon Mountain. She doesn't know how to enter right now. Also, she said that she has a part of the universe's fate in the myriad Aeon Mountain, but it's only a small part. Most of her universe's fate is still in other places in the southern fallen forest. Tell her that I will think of a way to find the other universe's fate. Xin Xiang said. Chapter 4638. Xin Xiang looked at the sage of Tian Fa, sage Etian, and the others from afar. His heart was filled with emotions. These people were once all-powerful characters in the universe Divine Sea. Many years ago, when they obtained the power of creation, they were already toyed with in the palms of others. One had to know that the 6 races of Life Spirit and 6 Souls Palace, which had tormented Xinxiang, were all created under the influence of Sage Etian and Sage Tian Fa. However, the sages of Tian Fa and Etian had been clearly arranged from the start. Xinxiang was lost in thought. He had been sealed for 100,000 years. During the growth of the world-defying universe, even the 6 clans of Life Soul could not affect the growth of the world-defying universe. Therefore, the world-defying stage universe had not been controlled by anyone else until now. Even the Everlasting Mountain could not completely control the world-defying stage universe. Xinxiang, no one knew what the world-defying stage universe had become, because the Heavenly Mother Holy Wasteland and the world-defying stage universe were separated. The Life Soul 6 clans, 6 Souls Palace, and other forces were indeed very powerful in the world-defying universe, but they would also enter the Heavenly Mother's sacred wasteland one after another. Xinxiang did not know how many years had passed in the world-defying stage universe. Previously, when he entered the Heavenly Mother's sacred wasteland, he could feel that the time was different. And since the Myriad Universe Mountain was in the Heavenly Mother Holy Desolate, and the Heavenly Mother Holy Desolate was in the world-defying universe, then was the Myriad Universe Mountain the mastermind behind everything in the Heavenly Mother Holy Desolate? Xinxiang only wanted to find Kai Lian's universe fate as soon as possible, then find Xue Xianxian and the others and leave the Heavenly Mother Holy Wasteland as soon as possible. The waters of this Heavenly Mother Holy Desolate were too deep. Xinxiang was worried that if he continued to investigate, there would be no turning back. Xinxiang waited outside the 10,000 Universe Mountain for 3 days. The thick fog dispersed once again, and an incomparably majestic white crystal mountain appeared. Sage Etian and the others were incomparably excited when they saw the Myriad Universe Mountain appear once again. Xinxiang also tried his best to hide, because Tianxian Holy Lord might come out. He did not want to be sensed by Tianxian Holy Lord. Not long after, someone came out. It was not the Heavenly Sage Saint Leader, but a seductive man in red clothes. Yes, this man was slender, his skin was as white as jade, and his figure was enchanting. When the sages of Tian Fa saw this man, they couldn't help but shiver in fear. "You're finally here?" This flirtatious man seemed to be in a bad mood. Furthermore, he seemed to know the Tian Fa sage and the others. "Is it the Holy Lord of Fallen Heart?" The Heavenly Punishment sage bowed and asked humbly, "Exactly. How dare you show up here?" Holy Lord Fallen Heart harumphed. Seeing that he was angry, Sage Etian and the others trembled. Although they were floating in the air, they immediately knelt down and kowtowed to this Saint Lord Fallen Heart. "Rise." Sacred Master Fallen Heart said coldly, "I'll give you a chance to make amends for your mistakes." "Lord Fallen Heart, Holy Lord, we will definitely complete this mission," the Tian Fa sage said fearfully. "Originally, you almost succeeded in making the Tao Creation Sage and the Heavenly Mother Sage fall. If they successfully integrate the power of creation, then they will become one of us. They are all very talented," the Fallen Heart Sacred Master said regretfully. "Now, the Heavenly Sage Sacred Master has benefited." Xinxiang understood a little. The Blood Crystal Mountain was used by the Fallen Heart Sacred Master to test people's hearts. If they could not withstand the test, then it meant that their talent was not enough and they could only become a disciple of the Fallen Heart Sacred Master. If they could resist the red power of creation and successfully reach the 10,000 Beast Mountain, then they could become a disciple of the Heavenly Sage Sacred Master. Now, it seemed that it was better to be a disciple of the Heavenly Sage Sacred Master. Lord, Holy Lord, we have explained before that we were obstructed. If not for the appearance of that variable called Xinxiang, the Heavenly Mother Sage, and the Tao Creation Sage would have fallen long ago. Sage Etian said hurriedly. This person saved the Tao Creation Sage time and time again, and even took away a large amount of creation energy. With such a big variable, I hope that Lord Holy Lord will pay attention to it. Xinxiang, this person, outside of the southern fallen forest, destroyed many sects from the cosmos divine sea. Furthermore, he can control creation energy. He is definitely a very big variable. The Tian Fa Sage said. Previously, he released a very large amount of soul power. The Red Devil Thunder Reverend said, Xinxiang, is this person really so powerful? According to the information I have, when the Tao Creation Sage and the Heavenly Mother Sage came to the 10,000 Beast Mountain, there was indeed a man. However, that man was very weak and did not have the aura of creation energy on him. The Fallen Heart Sacred Master also began to pay attention to Xinxiang. He knew that the Tian Fa Sage and the others in front of him would not dare to lie to him. Therefore, Xinxiang definitely existed. This kind of person was indeed a variable. Who knows, he might be nearby. The Tian Fa Sage looked around. Just as he finished speaking, the Fallen Heart Sacred Master's long black hair suddenly danced in the wind and then turned blood red. Immediately after, his red hair suddenly exploded with red light and quickly extended in all directions. In the blink of an eye, his hair formed a domain that enveloped a large area outside the 10,000 Universe Mountain. Chapter 4639. Sage Etian and the others all felt that Xinxiang was dead for sure. Furthermore, they felt that Xinxiang shouldn't have run over like this. Xinxiang dared to come over by himself. In their eyes, this was a very stupid action. Holy Master Fallen Heart looked at Xinxiang, and his eyes gradually emitted a weak red light, as if he was using some kind of secret technique to spy on Xinxiang. Xinxiang also opened his heart's eye to look at the Holy Master in front of him, but he could not see anything. Fallen Heart, Holy Lord saw something, but it was not valuable information to him. He could see that Xinxiang's cultivation base was not high. Although there were 2 Soul C, this strength was not enough in front of him. However, he also felt that it was very strange because Xinxiang should not have 2 Soul CS. You are not from the Universe Divine Sense C, and you have not obtained the creation power. Holy Master Fallen Heart said, but you have cultivated the Soul C. You just said that you can bring me into the Myriad Universe Mountain. Is that true? Xinxiang asked. He did not have any hope in his heart that this matter would succeed, and he had already planned to run away. Of course. However, I have a condition. Holy Master Fallen Heart glanced at Sage Etian and the others and continued, Don't worry, I won't give you an excessive condition. In the eyes of Holy Master Fallen Heart, Xinxiang was much more valuable than Sage Etian and Sage Tian Fa. This was because Xinxiang could help the Tao Creation Sage get rid of the red creation power time and time again. This was a very powerful ability in itself. Holy Master Fallen Heart wanted to understand how Xinxiang could help the Tao Creation Sage resist the red creation power. Tell me about it, Xinxiang said. Sage Etian and the others were all gnashing their teeth, because they were truly worried that they would become the subordinates of Holy Master Fallen Heart. With Xinxiang's ability, once he became the subordinate of Holy Master Fallen Heart, he would definitely be valued. At that time, how would they survive? Follow me. Sacred Master Fallen Heart suddenly retracted his domain. His long red hair danced wildly in the air to form a domain, but it only took him an instant to retract it. After Holy Lord Fallen Heart's hair turned black, he looked much more normal. Previously, his hair had become infinitely long and even covered a large area. His appearance was truly terrifying. Xin Xiang followed Saint Master Fallen Heart and flew far away. Although he couldn't see through Saint Master Fallen Heart's cultivation with a clear mind eye, he could see that this person didn't want to kill him. I can bring you into the 10,000 Universe Mountain, but you have to help me seal the Heavenly Sage, Sacred Leader. Sacred Leader Fallen Heart said, "That's not too much, right?" "Isn't this too much? The Heavenly Sage, Saint Lord, is so powerful, and I know nothing about her. You asked me to help you seal her." Xinxiang shook his head. "This can't be done in a short time." Holy Master Fallen Heart said, "I need someone who won't be affected by the Genesis power to help me. Although you are weak, you can cultivate something similar to the Soul Sea without relying on the Genesis power." "What do you mean by something similar to the Soul Sea?" Xinxiang asked. Previously, he had discussed with Cailian and the Tao Creation Sage that the Soul Sea that he cultivated looked like the Soul Sea, but it was actually not the Soul Sea. "When I probed you just now, I discovered that there is an existence similar to the Soul Sea within your soul, and the Soul Sea is usually bestowed by the Genesis power. Without the Genesis power, it is impossible to cultivate the Soul Sea. That's why I said that. Before I agree to your request, can I understand what kind of person the Heavenly Sage, Sacred Leader is?" Xinxiang asked. "I have 2 friends with her. I'm very worried about my friends. Heavenly Sage, Sacred Leader, is my enemy. Of course, people like us don't differentiate between good and evil. All of our actions are to worship the heavens." Holy Master Fallen Heart said, "When the heavens give us a hint, we will begin to take action." "Heavens." Xinxiang frowned. "That's right. Even you are affected by the power of the heavens. For example, there is a curse in your body. It is the power of the heavens causing mischief." Holy Master Fallen Heart said, "Doesn't the curse in my body originate from the Heavenly Sage's curse technique inheritance?" Xinxiang's heart moved. Since Holy Master Fallen Heart can see through it, then she might be able to undo the curse. Let's put it this way. The Heavenly Sage also comprehended the heavens. That's why he mastered this curse. Of course, the heavens' curse technique he mastered was very weak. However, he could use very weak heaven's power. Therefore, after he passed down this curse, it was equivalent to sowing seeds. Holy Master Fallen Heart said, and then, "Those people who cursed me don't even know what heaven's power is." Xinxiang said, "This is where the power of heaven's power lies. Even if those people have never come into contact with heaven's power, by learning related cultivation methods, they can form a connection with heavens." Holy Master Fallen Heart said, "That's why heaven's power can take root and germinate in your body." "What the hell? So you're saying that there is heaven's power in my body?" Xinxiang's face is filled with shock as he said, "Or is my curse the power of heaven's power?" When you were cursed, the power of heaven's power in your body was still very weak. But after many years, the power of heaven's power started to spread, so it became stronger and stronger. Holy Master Fallen Heart said, "Your curse is very difficult to undo. I can't undo it." Xinxiang is very annoyed by this so-called heaven's power. He has heard about the existence of heaven's power before, but he never expected that it would have such a relationship with him. Chapter 4640. Xinxiang did not react on the surface, but he was shocked in his heart. He did not know what was going on with the Myriad Universe Mountain. But if the Myriad Universe Mountain really wanted to destroy the world-defying stage universe, he would not be able to stop it. Is your Myriad Universe Mountain also in the world-defying stage universe? Xinxiang asked. Yes and no. The Holy Lord of Fallen Heart said. In short, the Myriad Universe Mountain and the world-defying stage universe have a very close connection. Xinxiang was shocked. From his point of view, the Myriad Universe Mountain might have some hidden weakness. Otherwise, it would have appeared in the southern forest of the Heavenly Mother's sacred wasteland in such a state, and it seemed to be related to the world-defying stage universe. Right now, he only wanted to quickly help Xilian find the universe fate, then leave the Heavenly Mother's sacred wasteland and return to the Saint Profound Star as soon as possible. The Saint Profound Star had the heart palace of the world-defying stage universe. He had to go back and watch it closely. Also, he wanted to understand why the Myriad Universe Mountain wanted to take away Xilian's universe fate. With your help, I have a way to seal the Heavenly Sage, Sacred Lord. The Holy Lord of Fallen Heart said. After this is done, I will give you a generous reward. Is there any danger? Xinxiang asked. There's definitely danger. Once my plan begins, not only you, even I will be in danger. The Holy Lord of Fallen Heart said very seriously, I have to seal the Heavenly Sage, Sacred Lord, as soon as possible, or else the one sealed will be me. Are the two of you competitors? Xinxiang was very curious and said, You are clearly all from the Myriad Universe Mountain. Has the conflict between you reached an irreconcilable point? The higher-ups assigned the blood crystal, holy mountain to me. This broken thing only attracts trash, and the people I recruited in the end are only a bunch of trash. The Holy Lord of Fallen Heart snorted coldly. Those who escaped from the blood crystal holy mountain are all saints with good aptitudes. I am only helping them choose better saints. So what? Aren't these saints from the Myriad Universe Mountain? What do you need so many powerful saints for? Don't tell me that you holy lords often compete with each other. Xinxiang felt that it was strange. Why couldn't these people unite? If my subordinates are weak, then I won't be able to fight for resources at all, and my cultivation will fall behind. The Holy Lord of the Fallen Heart said, Once my cultivation can't keep up and I can't pass the test of the Myriad Universe Mountain, then I will become someone else's cultivation resource. What? Become someone else's cultivation resource? Xinxiang said in surprise. To put it simply, if I can't pass the test of the 10,000 Universe Mountain, I will be molded into a ball and fed to the Holy Lord who passes the test. The sacred leader closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He said, I almost failed the trial. It could be seen that he was terrified and worried that something like this would happen again. If you seal the Heavenly Sage, Saint Lord, will the 10,000 Aeon Mountain blame you? Xinxiang guessed that if he couldn't pass the test, he would become a material for alchemy. Thinking about it, it was indeed quite scary. I don't know. In any case, I have to restrain her. Holy Master Fallen Heart said, I can only fight to the death. Xinxiang looked at the Heavenly Ghost Sage and the others in the distance and said in a low voice, They are all my enemies. I know that you have conflicts with them. However, they are still sages and have successfully fused with the creation power. Furthermore, you killed many of my people before. Don't tell me you want to kill these people? The Holy Lord of the Fallen Heart said, If they are all gone, then I will have no one to use. Are you that pitiful? After all these years, haven't you taken in a few sages? Xinxiang is somewhat speechless. There are dozens of them in total, but they were all killed by the Heavenly Sage Saint Lord. The Holy Lord of the Fallen Heart said angrily, If I can prove that I am far more valuable than them, can I kill them? Xinxiang said he would not allow the Heavenly Ghost Sage to live. In his opinion, the Heavenly Ghost Sage was hiding a lot of potential. Even the Holy Lord of the Fallen Heart could not see this potential. The Heavenly Ghost Sage had hidden it very well. Xinxiang only had a vague intuition, and he also believed in his intuition. So you're willing to join me? The Holy Lord of the Fallen Heart asked. I'm not going to become your disciple. I'm going to cooperate with you. How about this? If I can help you obtain resources, then there's no need to seal the heavenly sage, Holy Lord, right? Xinxiang said, That's right, but can you do it? The Holy Lord of the Fallen Heart was in disbelief. You'll know once you try, Xinxiang said. If you prove your worth, you can do whatever you want with those people. The Holy Lord of the Fallen Heart said. All right. Xinxiang wanted to enter the Myriad Universe Mountain and figure out the relationship between the Myriad Universe Mountain and the world-defying stage universe. From his point of view, the Myriad Universe Mountain should be connected to the world-defying stage universe, but not completely within the world-defying stage universe. Chapter 46-41. I thought the Myriad Universe Mountain was just a mountain, but it turns out that the mountain is just an outer appearance. Xinxiang was now very worried about the world-defying stage universe. Since the interior of the Myriad Universe Mountain was so huge, accommodating a world-defying stage universe was definitely not a problem. This meant that the Myriad Universe Mountain could devour the world-defying stage universe. Holy Lord Fallen Heart, how many universes are there inside the Myriad Universe Mountain? Xinxiang asked. I don't know. The Myriad Universe Mountain is too big, and it's very complicated to operate. I'm only in charge of a small portion. Holy Lord Fallen Heart said, No one can figure out how big the Myriad Universe Mountain is. This mountain is expanding all the time. Then what about the Blood Crystal Mountain from before? Is there space inside? Xinxiang asked. No, that mountain is only a small portion of the debris that fell from the Myriad Universe Mountain. Then give it to me and place it outside to test the saints. The saints who pass the examination will eventually arrive at the Myriad Universe Mountain and be accepted by the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord. The Holy Lord Fallen Heart said. In other words, the saints who can't resist the temptation of the Blood Crystal Mountain will all be accepted by you, right? Xinxiang suddenly understood why the Holy Lord Fallen Heart hated the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord, so much. That's right. The Holy Lord Fallen Heart sighed. The heavenly sage and the others are too useless. They didn't pull the Tao Creation Sage and the others into the water. After he finished speaking, he looked at Xinxiang because the heavenly sage and the others had said that it was Xinxiang who was obstructing them. He did not ask Xinxiang about the details. Although he was very curious about it, he did not want to know. I remember that when the heavenly sage and the others came to the Myriad Universe Mountain, they wanted to pay their respects to the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord. The heavenly sage and the others know the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord? Xinxiang frowned. At that time I was hiding at the side, so I heard the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord, reply to them. He told them to wait for 3 days, and then they waited for you to appear. Is what you said true? The Holy Lord Fallen Heart was in disbelief as he asked solemnly. Xinxiang looked at the Holy Lord Fallen Heart and saw that his beautiful jade white face was gradually filled with anger. It's true. Although I want to kill them, I don't need to lie to you about this. Xinxiang said, I'm not trying to frame them. I just want to know how they know the Tianxian Saint Lord. After that, Xinxiang described how Sage Tian and the others had come to the 10,000 Universes Mountain. After Holy Master Fallen Heart heard this, he slammed his palm on the table, shattering a sturdy black table. What's wrong? Xinxiang asked. The heavenly sage, Sacred Lord, must have contacted them through some means. Sacred Master Fallen Heart said coldly, This means that Sage Tian and the others are probably spies that the heavenly sage, Sacred Master, placed here. What? But they were too careless. Even if you shout directly outside the Myriad Universe Mountain. Xinxiang frowned. Isn't this treating you as if you don't exist? If you hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known about this at all. Sacred Master Fallen Heart said coldly, I miscalculated. I didn't expect that the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord, would make a move against me. She had already started her plan. I was one step behind. Wait, did the heavenly sage, sacred Lord, break the rules of your 10,000 universes mountain? Because she contacted Sage Etion and the others. Shen Xiang said, Sage Etion and the others have already become your disciples. Did she cross the line by doing this? No. She has the absolute priority to choose the sages. Therefore, it is normal for her to contact Sage Etion and the others in advance. Sacred Master Fallen Heart clenched his fists and said while gnashing his teeth, Since the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord, has already done this, don't blame me. The battle between the Sacred Masters is so intense that Xin Xiang is very shocked. It seems like they want to fight to the death. Then the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord, must know that you have accepted me. Xin Xiang said again. That's right, Sacred Master Fallen Heart said. Maybe the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord, ordered Sage Etion and the others to kill you. Why don't we find a chance to test the Sage Etion and the others? Xin Xiang said, We can set up a trap and let them jump in themselves. I will be the bait. No, it's too dangerous. Right now, I can't trust anyone other than you. Sacred Master Fallen Heart looked at Xin Xiang with sincere eyes. Shen Xiang felt that it is somewhat funny. This Sacred Master Fallen Heart is too pitiful. There is no one else he can trust by his side. If he was noticed by the heavenly sage, Sacred Lord, Shen Xiang would have to be prepared. The heavenly sage, Sacred Lord, wanted to eliminate the Sacred Master Fallen Heart. Now that he is following the Sacred Master Fallen Heart, he will definitely become a target. Sacred Master Fallen Heart, have you heard of universe fate? Xin Xiang asked. I have heard of it. Why? Sacred Master Fallen Heart's eyes suddenly lit up. He asked somewhat excitedly, Do you know who has universe fate? What will happen if there is a universe fate? Shen Xiang did not say, but he had already realized that even the Sacred Master Fallen Heart was very concerned about universe fate. Let's put it this way. The universe God Sea that we destroyed previously had many universes. However, after so many years, only one universe could give birth to a universe fate. Therefore, the Myriad Universe Mountain could only destroy the universe. Sacred Master Fallen Heart said. What? The universe God Sea was destroyed because of this? Shen Xiang said in shock. The universe God Sea is equivalent to a fruit tree that we planted. However, after so many years, only one fruit has appeared. This has wasted a lot of our resources. Therefore, we can only uproot this tree and plant another one. Sacred Master Fallen Heart said. Shen Xiang immediately thought of the Heavenly Mother Universe, which was the universe of Kai Lian. Chapter 46-42. After Xin Xiang heard this news from the Fallen Heart Holy Master, he immediately became worried. This was because he himself was a person with a universe fate. As for the Heavenly Sage and the Heavenly Punishment Sage, they all knew that Xin Xiang possessed a universe fate. It was very likely that these people would tell the Heavenly Sage, Holy Master, and the Fallen Heart Holy Master about this. Xin Xiang thought about it and suddenly felt that the Heavenly Sage and the others did not seem to have told anyone about this matter. They definitely knew the importance of a universe fate. So why didn't they tell the Fallen Heart Holy Master and the Heavenly Sage Holy Master? If the Heavenly Sage Holy Master knew that Shen Xiang possessed a universe fate, then she would definitely treat Xin Xiang in a different manner. Holy Master Fallen Heart, how does the Myriad Universe Mountain deal with people with universe fate? Xin Xiang asked. They will definitely capture this person and then send him to a place in the Myriad Universe Mountain and let the people there decide. The Fallen Heart Holy Master said. Actually, I'm not too sure about the exact process. In short, if we hand this kind of person over, we will be rewarded. Shen Xiang secretly guessed that the Heavenly Sage and the others did not tell anyone about this matter because they wanted to monopolize the universe fate. Xilian's universe fate could be divided into several parts. The heavenly sage and the others could indeed share a universe fate. Therefore, it was normal for them to agree to keep this matter a secret. Shen Xiang had originally planned to sneak into the Myriad Universe Mountain first, and then slowly deal with the heavenly sage and the others. But now, in order to prevent the heavenly sage from saying anything, Shen Xiang had to act quickly. The fallen heart, Holy Master, seemed to be sincere about cooperating, but if he knew that Shen Xiang possessed a universe fate, then his attitude might be different. In order to obtain resources, he might immediately capture Shen Xiang and hand him over. Will the heavenly sage and the others pose any threat to you? Shen Xiang asked. If there is a threat, we must pay attention. The heavenly sage, Holy Master, is very sinister. I still don't understand why he placed these people around me, but it's definitely to trick me. Holy Lord Fallen Heart was very angry when he mentioned this. Right now, we can't be sure if Sage Yi Tian and the others have really defected to Sage Tianxian's side. We need to be sure. Shen Xiang said, You're short of manpower now. You'd better be careful. You can't lose them for nothing. I will confirm it, Holy Master Fallen Heart said. You don't have to worry about this. Then what do I need to do? Shen Xiang asked. You have to become stronger. You are still too weak. You need to have a certain level of strength before you can join hands with us to seal the heavenly sage, Holy Master, said Holy Master Fallen Heart. Shen Xiang obviously wanted to become stronger, but this was very difficult because he was still unable to cultivate a new soul sea. He had cultivated the third soul sea before, but because he absorbed the power of the cursed spirit mutated, and his third soul sea gradually dissipated. It could be said that his cultivation had regressed a little. Especially now his third soul sea was completely gone. He couldn't sense it at all. I also want to become stronger, but my cultivation is very special. I am a member of the world-defying stage universe. So my cultivation method is restricted by the world-defying stage universe, Shen Xiang said. Even if I am in the Myriad Universe Mountain right now, I can still feel the cultivation laws. Yes, Shen Xiang could indeed sense the 6 cultivation laws in the Myriad Universe Mountain. He could only follow the 6 cultivation laws and raise his cultivation. However, without the soul sea, the increase in cultivation of the 6 paths was very limited. You need the creation power, Holy Master Fallen Heart said. The so-called soul sea cultivation is actually fusing with a type of creation power. That creation power is the soul sea. It can open up the soul and allow the soul to contain even more power. In that case, wouldn't I be controlled by others? To obtain the soul sea through this method, there must be a price to pay, right? Shen Xiang shook his head. Indeed, you need to pay a price in order to make a deal with the Myriad Universe Mountain. The Myriad Universe Mountain opens up your soul sea. You obtain a powerful strength, and then return it to the Myriad Universe Mountain. Holy Master Fallen Heart said, Here, we all cultivate like this. Trade with the Myriad Universe Mountain? Or is it a trade with someone from the Myriad Universe Mountain? Shen Xiang was confused. It's a trade with the Myriad Universe Mountain. All of the creation power were cultivated by the Myriad Universe Mountain. Holy Master, Fallen Heart said. This is truly inconceivable. Shen Xiang frowned. Then I can't make this kind of deal even more. If you don't do this, how can you become stronger? Holy Master, Fallen Heart said coldly. All living things in the universe have their own limits. When one's strength reaches its limit, one can only break through the Myriad Universe Mountain. Where did the Myriad Universe Mountain's creation power come from? Shen Xiang wanted to understand how the Myriad Universe Mountain operated. The Myriad Universe Mountain cultivated its own creation power and then lent it to us. We used different methods to return it to the Myriad Universe Mountain, forming a cycle. Holy Master Fallen Heart said, borrowing and returning. This kind of deal is very fair. Not fair. Xinxiang shook his head and said, "The Myriad Universe Mountain lent its power to you to help you open up your soul sea. Logically speaking, your soul sea should belong to you. However, your soul sea still has some kind of connection with the Myriad Universe Mountain. It can be taken back at any time." Chapter 46-43. I don't have any great background. I just have a deeper understanding of the various laws of power. Xinxiang smiled and said, "Actually, I'm an alchemist. Alchemy is what I'm best at." Xinxiang did not want Holy Master Fallen Heart to think too much. He did not want him to ask Sage Tian and the others. It would not be good if he found out that Xinxiang had a universe fate. "You still haven't answered my question. If you don't absorb the Genesis energy and don't trade with Myriad Universe Mountain, how are you going to break through the limit?" Holy Master Fallen Heart asked. "I've already said it very clearly. I thought that I didn't need to explain it in detail." Xinxiang spread his hands and smiled. "Since Holy Master Fallen Heart still doesn't understand, I'll say a few more words." Holy Master Fallen Heart was a little unhappy because Xinxiang was secretly mocking him. "Let me think." Holy Master Fallen Heart did not want to be outdone. He immediately began to think and understand Xinxiang's words. He thought about it a few times, but did not understand anything. "All right, you have to explain it to me clearly. Don't beat around the bush." Holy Master Fallen Heart said, "Although I can't understand it, I'm not stupid. You better not talk nonsense to brush me off." Holy Master Fallen Heart thought that Xinxiang did not have the real answer. Xinxiang just could not answer his question. That was why he used words to avoid it. "I've said before that the Genesis energy does not belong to Myriad Universe Mountain. The Myriad Universe Mountain blocked the source of the creation power. After the Myriad Universe Mountain absorbed the creation power and tampered with it, I will trade with you." Xinxiang said, "That's just your assumption." Holy Master Fallen Heart spread his hands and said, "All right, I'll take it that your assumption is right. So what?" "The Genesis energy released by Myriad Universe Mountain has been processed, and some consciousness has been injected into it. After entering your soul, the Genesis energy can bind you to fulfill the contract. It's equivalent to signing a slave contract with you." Xinxiang continued. The Fallen Heart Sacred Master wanted to say something, but didn't. This was because he agreed with Xinxiang's guess. If it was really as Xinxiang had said, then they had really suffered a huge loss, and had even been taken advantage of by the Myriad Universe Mountain. The 10,000 Universes Mountain controlled the Genesis energy that originally belonged to all living beings. Then, through modifying this Genesis energy, it specially provided it for powerful living beings to absorb. Then, through these living beings, it obtained benefits. Sacred Leader Fallen Heart had felt like a slave for all these years. Although he had great power, he was always forced to do things by 10,000 Universe Mountain. If he did not complete the mission, he would not be able to obtain any cultivation resources. In the end, he would become someone else's cultivation resource. The Chuangshi power can be absorbed, but before absorbing it, you need to remove the things added by the Myriad Universe Mountain. Xinxiang said, "That way you can become stronger. We need to absorb the most primitive creation energy so that we won't be controlled by the 10,000 Universes Mountain." Xinxiang also gave his own solution. "Is this feasible? How many years do you plan to use to complete it?" The Fallen Heart Sacred Master shook his head. In his opinion, the method that Xinxiang had mentioned was simply wishful thinking. One had to know that the Fallen Heart Sacred Master had a large amount of Genesis energy in his hands, and those Genesis energy were all given to him by the Myriad Universe Mountain. Once he absorbed it, he would not be able to get rid of it. "I've succeeded." Xinxiang said, "Aren't you curious as to why I was able to help Tao Creation Divine Lord resist the Red Genesis energy?" The Red Genesis energy had once entered the Tao Creation Sage's body, but it was purified by me later on. You, the fallen heart, sacred master, had thought of many possibilities before, but he had never thought that Xinxiang would actually purify the red Genesis energy. The fallen heart, sacred master, had been facing a large amount of Genesis energy for so many years, so he had naturally researched it before. There were indeed many strange energies within the Genesis energy. If it was really as Xinxiang had guessed, the Genesis energy they had obtained through the Myriad Universe Mountain was problematic, then they would truly become slaves of the Myriad Universe Mountain. Who knows about this? The fallen heart, sacred master, asked in a low voice. Me, the Heavenly Mother Sage, the Tao Creation Sage, and you. Xinxiang said, currently only the four of us know. Will the Heavenly Mother Sage and the Tao Creation Sage tell this to the Heavenly Sage, Sacred Master? The fallen heart, Sacred Master, said in a serious tone. They are all my good friends. I believe that they will definitely not tell this to the Heavenly Sage, Sacred Master. Xinxiang said, I also believe that you will not tell this to the upper echelons of the Myriad Universe Mountain. Xinxiang had also thought about it carefully before telling this secret to the fallen heart, Sacred Master. The fallen heart, Sacred Master, had been suppressed by the Heavenly Sage, Sacred Master, for many years. So it could be seen that not only was the Heavenly Sage, Sacred Master, more outstanding than him, it also meant that the fallen heart, Sacred Master, was marginalized and abandoned. The fallen heart, Sacred Master, had resentment towards the Myriad Universe Mountain. He even wanted to seal the Heavenly Sage, Sacred Master, so he was afraid of everything now. I'm not stupid. What good would it do me to tell those fellows from the Myriad Universe Mountain? The fallen heart, Sacred Master, said, Is it convenient for you to show me your skills now? Let me see what the Genesis energy is like after purification. Chapter 46-44. After Holy Lord Fallen Heart heard Xinxiang's words, his heart suddenly surged with an indescribable excitement, because this was a chance to get rid of the Myriad Universe Mountain. However, this thought only lasted for an instant before it was extinguished by him. He did not dare to go against the Myriad Universe Mountain. He was worried that after being discovered by the Myriad Universe Mountain, he would be taken down by the Myriad Universe Mountain before he could escape. He had been in the Myriad Universe Mountain for so many years, so he was very clear about the consequences of betrayal. He would definitely be refined into a cultivation resource and absorbed by someone. Although he did not dare, he did not stop Xinxiang from continuing to purify the red Chuangshi power. To him, this was also a way out. If the Myriad Universe Mountain really forced him into a corner in the future, he could use this method to leave the Myriad Universe Mountain. How did you refine it? Holy Lord Fallen Heart looked at Xinxiang's world, defying God furnace, and said, This furnace does not look simple. Is there a need for this kind of furnace to purify this kind of red Chuangshi power? It's not necessary. With this furnace, it can speed up the process. Xinxiang said, As for the process, it's a little complicated. From Holy Lord Fallen Heart's point of view, Xinxiang had only stuffed the red Chuangshi power into the world defying God furnace. But inside the world defying God furnace, he had gone through many complicated steps. After that, Xinxiang briefly explained the process, causing Holy Lord Fallen Heart to be confused. Holy Lord Fallen Heart originally wanted to try and learn it, but after hearing Xinxiang say that it was even harder to master than alchemy, he gave up. In the Myriad Universe Mountain, refining pills was also very difficult. Holy Lord Fallen Heart had once wanted to learn alchemy, but he did not learn anything and could only give up in the end. I will arrange a comfortable environment for you so that you can properly purify the red Chuangshi power. You have to promise me that you won't tell anyone about this. Holy Lord Fallen Heart said, You should be very clear that the Myriad Universe Mountain will definitely not allow this kind of thing to happen. If you leak this news, and the Myriad Universe Mountain knows that I took you in, then I will also suffer. Xinxiang also agreed to the Holy Lord Fallen Heart because the Holy Lord Fallen Heart could provide him with a large amount of resources. For example, that kind of blood crystal was something that Xinxiang needed very much. Saint Lord Fallen Heart brought Xinxiang to a golden secret room. The walls and floor were made of golden crystals. The moment Xinxiang entered, he could feel that the golden crystal was very special. What's the difference between these golden crystals and blood crystals? Xinxiang touched them and asked. It's of a higher grade than blood crystals. After refining the blood crystals, they become golden crystals. The Holy Master of Fallen Heart said, a secret chamber built with golden crystals can help in absorbing and fusing the power of creation. How can I get a large amount of gold crystals? Xinxiang placed his hand on the golden crystal wall. He could feel that it was the golden powder produced by refining blood crystals. If he could directly obtain this kind of golden crystal, he wouldn't need to refine the blood crystal. Refining the blood crystal was still quite troublesome. I have no way of obtaining it. These are all bestowed to us by the Myriad Universe Mountain. The Holy Master of Fallen Heart shook his head and said, I also want to obtain a large amount of gold crystals. However, this kind of resource is extremely rare even for the Myriad Universe Mountain. I can refine blood crystals into golden crystals, but it's a bit troublesome. Xinxiang said, this kind of golden crystal can purify the red power of creation. When Xinxiang refined the red power of creation, he had to add the golden powder. The effect was extremely good. Is that so? The Holy Master of Fallen Heart was shocked. Previously, when I refined the red power of creation into liquid, I added a type of golden powder. It was refined through blood crystals. As Xinxiang spoke, he took out a handful of golden powder and placed it in his palm. The Holy Master of Fallen Heart pinched it with his finger and immediately confirmed that it was the same thing as the golden crystal. I don't have any golden crystals, but I have a lot of blood crystals. If you can refine a large amount of golden crystals, it will be very helpful to me. The Holy Master of Fallen Heart was overjoyed. How can it be helpful? Xinxiang asked curiously. When absorbing the power of creation, if I have a large amount of these golden crystals, I can absorb it faster and won't go crazy, the Holy Master of Fallen Heart said. Otherwise, every time I absorb the power of creation, I will go crazy for a period of time and destroy myself until I don't even look like a human anymore. Don't you have a room with golden crystals here? Xinxiang looked around and said, isn't that enough? The golden crystals in this room are the last of mine. I can't use the golden crystals in this room. Otherwise, I won't have any more golden crystals to help me cultivate in the future. The Holy Master of Fallen Heart shook his head and said, the Heavenly Sage, Holy Master, and I are competitors. She is much stronger than me now, so she directly stole my golden crystals. Otherwise, I would have some golden crystals every year. Stole? Xinxiang was puzzled. Did the Myriad Universe Mountain allow it? Of course the Myriad Universe Mountain allowed it. In short, she proved to the Myriad Universe Mountain that she is more worthy of using the golden crystals than me. So the Myriad Universe Mountain won't give them to me anymore. The Holy Master of Fallen Heart sighed and said, even if you have a large amount of power of creation, without the help of the golden crystals, it is very difficult to quickly absorb the power of creation. I see. Xinxiang roughly understood the red power of creation. So I must prove myself. As long as I seal the Heavenly Sage, Holy Master, the Myriad Universe Mountain will value me again. The Holy Master of Fallen Heart looked at the golden powder in Xinxiang's hand and gradually became excited. Chapter 46-45. Xinxiang could tell from the reaction of the Fallen Heart, Holy Lord, that he was not a match for the heavenly virtuous Holy Lord. Heaven Sage, Holy Master, must have been eyeing Holy Master, Fallen Heart, for a long time. Over the years, She has been weakening, Holy Master Fallen Heart, bit by bit. As long as the time is right, she will definitely make a move against Holy Master Fallen Heart. Therefore, to Holy Master Fallen Heart, it is best not to think about sealing Heaven's Sage, Holy Master, but to prepare to escape. Big Brother, Holy Master Fallen Heart, looks so enchanting, but I didn't expect him to be such a fool. With his level, it won't be long before he is played to death by Heaven's Sage, Holy Master. That is why I have to seize the time to obtain more blood crystals. Xinxiang said, "Who knows how long Holy Master Fallen Heart can last?" Holy Master Fallen Heart is sitting outside in a daze. Thinking back to Xinxiang's words, he gradually realized that his situation is not good. If Heaven's Sage, Holy Master, really has a strong backer, then he will be killed by Heaven's Sage, Holy Master, sooner or later. Fallen Heart, Holy Lord, looked at the door of Xinxiang's room, then came outside and asked, "Xinxiang, what should I do now?" In Holy Master Fallen Heart's eyes, Xinxiang can be considered an expert. Therefore, his current tone is also very weak. Wait and see. Xinxiang said, "Heaven's Sage, Holy Master, can make a move against you at any time. With her ability, it is very easy for her to take you down. However, she has not made a move yet. This means that she has some concerns." What concerns can she have? When she stole my resources, she did not have any concerns at all. Holy Master Fallen Heart thought of this matter and immediately became angry. You are a Holy Master after all. She can't act recklessly. Xinxiang said, "In the Myriad Universe Mountain, the Holy Master should also be the backbone of the Myriad Universe Mountain. She is waiting for an opportunity to get rid of you." Although Holy Master Fallen Heart's position is not very high, Heaven's Sage, Holy Master, does not dare to openly kill him. If other Holy Masters found out, they would definitely panic and affect the stability of the Myriad Universe Mountain. Xinxiang analyzed for a while, and Holy Master Fallen Heart felt that it is quite reasonable. "So you better not do anything now." Xinxiang said, "You were thinking of sealing the Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord, earlier. If you make a move, then she can naturally retaliate against you." Saint Lord Fallen Heart shuddered. "She predicted that I would attack her?" Holy Master Fallen Heart asked. "You've already been forced into a corner. It's only a matter of time before you make a move." Xinxiang said, "Moreover, she might have deliberately leaked the news to make you think that she was seriously injured, or that she suddenly became weak, so that you would take action." Xinxiang assumed that he was the Heavenly Sage, Saint Master, and made a series of guesses. "I rarely see her, nor do I have any contact with her. How did she convince me that she was injured and in a weakened state?" Holy Master Fallen Heart asked. "That will depend on Sage Etian and the others. If they are Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord's people, and you don't know that they're spies, then they will definitely mislead you and provide you with some information to make you think that Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord, is injured." Xinxiang said, "If they really do that, I will immediately kill them." Holy Master Fallen Heart clenched his fists and cursed in a low voice. "These bastards!" Holy Master Fallen Heart no longer disturbed Xinxiang. He arrived at the outermost hall and waited for Sage Etian and the others to return. Sage Etian and the others were arranged by Holy Master Fallen Heart to dig out blood crystals. So Holy Master Fallen Heart did not send anyone to monitor them. Holy Master Fallen Heart thought about it according to Xinxiang's train of thought. He believed that Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord, and the others went out to contact Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord, and the others. Holy Master Fallen Heart sat quietly for a while and calmed down a lot. He began to suspect that Xinxiang deliberately said those words to make him anxious so that he could use him to kill Sage Etian and the others. After all, Xinxiang had enmity with Sage Etian and the others. Therefore, Holy Master Fallen Heart had such thoughts. Xinxiang is refining the red Genesis energy in his room. Now that he is more and more familiar with it, He does not need to be very serious in refining it. He also took this opportunity to contact Silian through Fangqing and communicate with her. Fangqing is helping to transmit and receive information. Therefore, she knows all these important things. Fortunately, she is trustworthy, and she is also Silian's doppelganger. Therefore, Shen Xiang and Silian are not worried that the information will be leaked. Just like this, Shen Xiang obtained some useful information from the materials through Fangqing. Heavenly Sage, Holy Master, was indeed someone with a great background. He wasn't an ordinary Holy Master. Moreover, Sage Tian, Sage Tian Fa, and the others were all spies of Heavenly Sage, Holy Master. She had arranged for them to be by Holy Master Fallen Heart's side in order to scheme against him. As for Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord's plan, Silian does not know. She only knows that Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord, wants to kill a person called Holy Master Fallen Heart. Silian also said that Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord, wants her and Tao Creation Sage to get along well with Sage Tian and the others. Chapter 46:46. After talking to Shen Xiang, the Fallen Heart, Sacred Master, only felt restless. The main reason was that he was too weak now, and the Heaven Sage, Sacred Master, was like the sun in the sky. If the Heaven Sage, Sacred Master attacked him now, he did not know how to deal with it. He sat at the head of a solemn hall and looked at the cold and empty hall. It was as if he could see his miserable end. Back in the day, there were hundreds of powerful sages in this hall. As long as he sat in this position, someone would gather all the sages under him for a meeting. And he sat there majestically, looking down at the group of sages who did not even dare to breathe loudly. How majestic was that? But at this moment, there were less than 10 sages under him. None of them were loyal to him. Even the Tian Fa sage and Heavenly Go sage, who had just been recruited, were most likely sent by the Heaven Sage, Sacred Master. He sat there for half a day in a daze. He was waiting for Shen Xiang, but at the same time, he felt that he was waiting for death. He originally wanted to resist and escape, but he realized that his life was not up to him at all. Even if he wanted to die, he could not. If he continued to develop, he would become a cultivation resource for the Heaven Sage, Sacred Master sooner or later. He knew that he could not just sit there and wait for death, but he had no way to resist. The Heaven Sage, Sacred Master, was so powerful, and he had a mysterious and powerful backer. What could he use to resist the Heaven Sage, Sacred Master? Although he had met Shen Xiang, he felt that it was too late. Shen Xiang could not help him at all. Furthermore, he was not related to Shen Xiang. Why would Shen Xiang help him? But after thinking about it, the Fallen Heart, Sacred Master, felt that Shen Xiang was his only hope. Although the hope was very slim, it was much better than facing despair alone. He also knew that Shen Xiang would not help him for no reason. And he also had things that Shen Xiang wanted, such as blood crystals and large amounts of red Genesis energy. These were all things that Shen Xiang needed. The Fallen Heart, Sacred Master, decided to lower his status and think of a way to get Shen Xiang to help him. His mood was much better because he had been in despair before. Shen Xiang had given him hope. Sacred Master Fallen Heart looked at the empty hall and patiently waited for Sage Tian and the others to return. Previously, he had arranged for a subordinate to take Sage Tian and the others away from Myriad Universe Mountain and head to the Blood Crystal Sacred Mountain to excavate blood crystals. Those were the items he was going to use to trade with Shen Xiang. Sacred Master Fallen Heart waited for 2 days before Sage Tian and Sage Tian Fa finally returned. They were kneeling in the great hall, trembling in fear. Sacred Leader Fallen Heart's face gradually turned livid as he looked at the 2 sages in ragged robes. "Where is the Skyflame Sage? I sent them to bring you out. How come only the 2 of you returned?" Holy Master Fallen Heart said coldly, "Senior Heavenly Flame, he was killed." Sage Tian said with a sorrowful expression, When we were near the blood crystal sacred mountain, we were suddenly ambushed. Senior Heavenly Flame sacrificed himself to protect us as we retreated. The Tian Fa sage closed his eyes, looking very sad and angry. Who ambushed you? Sacred Master Fallen Heart suddenly stood up and instantly flashed to Sage Tian's side as he roared angrily. We don't know. The Tian Fa sage was frightened out of his wits. His body trembled as he knelt on the ground. When we escaped to Myriad Universe Mountain, it was Sacred Master Tian Xian who brought us in. Sage Tian continued. When Sacred Master Fallen Heart heard that it was Sacred Master Tian Xian who had brought them in, anger surged in his heart. If it were in the past, he might have believed it, but now he didn't believe a single word. From his point of view, Sage Tian and Tian Fa Sage had killed his subordinate, Sage Tian, and the one who had given the order was definitely Sacred Master Tian Xian. Heavenly Flame has followed me for so many years. He left just like that. Sacred Master Fallen Heart's voice trembled with anger. He believed that Sage Tian and Sage Tian were unable to kill Sage Tian. It was very likely that Sacred Master Tian Xian had taken action. Sacred Master, please calm down. My condolences. Sage Tian said. Sacred Master, don't worry. We will definitely think of a way to investigate and find the culprit for revenge. Sage Tian said. Sacred Master Fallen Heart gradually calmed down. He then returned to his seat and looked at the empty hall. He looked at Sage Tian and Sage Tian. He wished he could immediately kill the two of them, but he couldn't. If he killed his subordinate, he would definitely be severely punished by Myriad Universe Mountain. When that happened, Sacred Master Tian Xian would seize the opportunity to take him down. Chapter 46-47. After Holy Lord Fallen Heart finished his conversation with Shen Xiang, he returned to the luxurious hall dejectedly. After all, this was the place where he had been the most impressive in the past. Only here could he find some comfort. He would rather believe that the Heavenly Flame Sage was dead than accept that the Heavenly Flame Sage was a traitor. Holy Lord Fallen Heart even began to suspect that Shen Xiang was most likely sent by the Heavenly Sage Holy Lord to mess with his mentality. This was because, if not for Shen Xiang's words, he would not have let his imagination run wild. However, he quickly understood that the reason why his imagination was running wild was mainly because he had some doubts in his heart. Now that Shen Xiang, an outsider, had exposed it, he began to think. Holy Lord Fallen Heart sat in the luxurious hall, looking very dispirited. All he could do now was patiently wait for Shen Xiang. If not for Shen Xiang telling him to be patient, he might have directly gone to find the Sage of Heavenly Go and the Sage of Heavenly Punishment to ask for an explanation. Once he became serious, he would definitely torture them. Shen Xiang was refining pills. He knew that there was something wrong with Holy Lord Fallen Heart's current mood, but he did not say too much to him. He was testing Holy Lord Fallen Heart's state of mind. If Holy Lord Fallen Heart was impulsive and impatient, then he would not be a person who could accomplish great things. The following cooperation would not be able to continue. Brother, what will the effects of using the purified creation power to refine a pill be like? What exactly do I need to do to create a new cultivation law? He said, I'm also at a bottleneck right now. I can't break through. I don't know either. Maybe it's different this time. I need my cultivation to reach a certain realm and have a deeper understanding of the new realm before I can create a new cultivation law. Shen Xiang looked at the pill that was gradually condensing in the world, defying God furnace. He also knew that the pill refining this time had not achieved the result he wanted. That's true. This kind of thing can't be rushed. Xiao Jing's sister sighed softly. When the 6 Paths of Cultivation Law came out, I only succeeded because I accidentally refined the 6 Paths Life Soul. Shen Xiang said, I originally thought that if I gathered a large amount of creation power together, I might be able to refine something like a life soul, but in the end, I only managed to refine a pill. Brother, the reason why I was able to cultivate the 6 paths life spirits was because of the soul endowment. You might have to start from the soul endowment this time. The Genesis energy has a soul endowment, but I can't sense it. Xinxiang said, when Sage Etion and the others fused with the red creation power, they obtained a special ability. That should be the soul bestowment. Big brother, after you purify the creation power, you have to remove a lot of impurities and all kinds of consciousness. That's why you can sense the existence of the soul endowment. Only if you accept the red Genesis power like Sage Etion and the others will you be able to sense the Dan Han Fu. But you can't do that, it's too dangerous. Indeed, I won't be reckless. Xinxiang said, I want to come into contact with the most primitive creation power. The creation power that I have come into contact with right now were all cultivated by the Myriad Universe Mountain. I wonder what kind of changes have occurred. Yeah, the Myriad Universe Mountain transformed the creation power and then purified it in your hands. It's no longer what it used to be. Xinxiang opened the world-defying God furnace and looked at the white pellet. When he held it in his hand, he felt that it was light as a feather without any weight at all. The most miraculous thing was that after he gently tossed the pellet into the air, it floated in the air. Not only was it weightless, it could even float by itself. How magical! When little sister Xiao Jing saw it, she exclaimed, Big brother, can this pill condensed from the creation power be eaten? After you eat it, will you be in danger? It should be edible. Xinxiang laughed. I know what I'm doing with the pills, I refine myself, but I feel that this pill will take a very long time to completely refine. With the time domain of the 6 realms mirrors, you don't have to worry about wasting time. Little sister Xiao Jing laughed. Xinxiang sat on top of the 6 realms mirrors and ate the pellet. Let's call it the Chuanyuan God pill. After Xinxiang ate it, he went to feel the pellet. This pellet required him to use the 6 realms elemental power in his body to refine it bit by bit. Moreover, this pellet was very strong, and after eating it, it would not immediately melt. Inside his dantian, the powerful 6 realms elemental power started to spin crazily like a whirlpool. The Chuanyuan God pill was crazily ground in the middle and was crushed into extremely fine crystal dust by the impact of the 6 realms elemental power. After Xinxiang absorbed a little bit of the sparkling powder, he immediately felt an extremely vigorous force rushing into his limbs and bones. That sparkling powder was ground down from the Chuanyuan God pill. He had only absorbed a little bit of it, and it already had such an effect. He continued to absorb, but he quickly discovered that he could not withstand any stronger pill power. The power of the Chuanyuan God pill was extremely terrifying. It could clearly strengthen his body, and right now he could feel that his skin, hair, tendons, bones, and flesh were all being torn apart, being crushed and reshaped by the creation power. I wonder how long it will take to completely refine that pill. Xinxiang estimated that it would take at least 10 years. Fortunately, he was in the time domain of the 6 realms mirrors. He had been refining here for 10 years, and only 10 days had passed outside. Holy Lord Fallen Heart would not wait for him for too long. Chapter 46-48. Xinxiang took a good bath. While taking a bath, he chatted with Fangqing for a while. During this period of time, Psyllian did not contact Xinxiang through Fangqing. Psyllian had previously told Fangqing that she would not contact him for a period of time because she was afraid that the heavenly sage, Holy Lord, would discover something. In the 6 realms mirrors, Fangqing and her group of little sisters finally lived a more comfortable life. They were not like when they were in the Lost Soul Village, where they were always on tenterhooks. Xinxiang could feel that Fangqing had feelings for him. She had hinted to Xinxiang many times that she hoped to talk to him face to face. Xinxiang also wanted to see Fangqing and see how her cultivation was going. After all, her soulless illusion was still very effective against him. Especially now, Shenxiang has improved a lot. He wanted to try and see if he could resist Fang Qing's soulless illusion. But because it is not particularly safe in this place, Shenxiang will not let Fang Qing come out for the time being, so as to avoid complications. Qing, do you know who the girl who often contacts you in the soulless illusion is? Shenxiang asked. Her name is Cailian. Fang Qing said. She said that she and I knew each other in my previous life. She also said that the souls of us sisters had once cultivated a cultivation technique with her in our previous life, so our souls could resonate with each other. Shenxiang asked this because he wanted to know how Cailian explained this situation to Fang Qing. Cailian had said before that she would not take back Fang Qing and the others. Actually, you have a very close relationship with her. Shenxiang said she can be considered your elder sister, the kind that is very close to you. In short, if she knew that you were in danger, she would definitely do everything to save you. Shenxiang thought for a moment and decided to guide her in this direction. Cailian's Lotus Emperor personality was sometimes relatively slow to emotions, or it could be said that her understanding of emotions was very vague. Lian Ai's personality was currently unable to completely affect the emotions of the Lotus Emperor's personality, and the Heavenly Mother's personality was also very indifferent to emotions. Therefore, Shenxiang planned to help Cailian start. Really? So this is the relationship? Fang Qing was a little happy and said with a smile, Elder Brother Shin, in that case, am I considered her relative? I never thought that I would be able to meet my family from my previous life. Lian doesn't really know how to express her feelings, but she definitely treats you very well. Shenxiang smiled and said, Qing, I'll let you two meet as soon as possible. When the time comes, you two can have a good chat and exchange feelings. Fang Qing was not bored in the 6 realms mirrors, and Shenxiang even found something for them to do. Under little sister Xiao Jing's guidance, they used a large amount of Saint Soul elixirs to refine the blood crystals into golden crystal powder. Of course, this process also required the participation of Shenxiang. He had to release a type of flame in order to refine the blood crystal into a gold crystal. At the same time, he had to cooperate with the 6 realms mirrors. It was rare for Shenxiang to relax. He thought of Yu Zilian and Xian Ro, and wondered how they were doing in the divine medicine treasure city. There was also Shen Yuanxin. This was the universe Yuanxin of the world defying stage universe. She was hiding alone. Who knew what kind of threat she was facing? As for the Saint Profound Star that Shen Yuanxin was guarding, he did not know how it was doing. The divine domain that was previously isolated by space, was that spatial barrier still there? Shenxiang just wanted to leave the Tianmu holy wasteland as soon as possible. He had already roughly understood the situation of the Tianmu holy wasteland. This place should be considered a stronghold that was connected to the Myriad Universe Mountain. And if the Myriad Universe Mountain wanted to use the Tianmu holy wasteland to devour the world-defying stage universe, Shenxiang would definitely not allow such a thing to happen. Shenxiang walked out of the gold crystal cultivation room and went to the small hall outside. He did not see the Holy Lord of Fallen Heart here. Then he went to the hall outside. He was standing in front of the grand golden door of the hall, looking at the Holy Lord of Fallen Heart, who was sitting high up on the luxurious chair. Right now, the Holy Lord of Fallen Heart looked like he was paralyzed on that big chair, without any aura at all. Shenxiang, you're finally out. When the Holy Lord of Fallen Heart saw Shenxiang, he weakly shouted. He did not seem to have any hope for Shenxiang anymore. Holy Lord of Fallen Heart, what have you experienced? Shenxiang asked. My name is Xia Wuxin. I am no longer some Holy Lord of Fallen Heart. Xia Wuxin let out a long sigh. My title of Holy Lord of Fallen Heart has already been taken away. Why did they take away the title of Holy Lord of Fallen Heart? Shen Xiang was not surprised. This was obviously the attack of the heavenly sage, Holy Lord. Chapter 46-49. Xia Wuxin felt helpless. When he was still the fallen heart, Holy Master, although he was cold to his subordinates, he had never given them less. But now, all of his subordinates had betrayed him, and the only one who had not run away was Shen Xiang, an outsider. He knew that Shen Xiang was different from the rest, but in his opinion, any normal person would be extremely afraid of the heavenly sage, Holy Master. Even Xia Wuxin himself was extremely afraid of the heavenly sage, Holy Master. He even wanted to beg for mercy. He knew very well that the heavenly sage, Holy Master, would not let him off. The heavenly sage, Holy Master's main goal was to devour him and become stronger. "I'm not leaving," Shen Xiang said. "I've said it before, the heavenly sage and the heavenly sage are my enemies. They must die." Other than the two sages, there were also the Red Devil Thunder Reverend, the Sword God Guards, and the Wind God Guards. They all knew that Shen Xiang possessed a universe fate. Shen Xiang wanted to kill them before they could inform the heavenly sage, Holy Master. If the heavenly sage, Holy Master, knew that he possessed a universe fate, it would be very difficult for him to survive in the Myriad Universe Mountain. "You want to kill them?" Xia Wuxin asked. "Do you have such a deep grudge with them? You have to think carefully. If you participate in the battle with me, even if you kill them, you won't be able to escape death." "I've thought it through," Shen Xiang said. "Are you sure they will go on stage tomorrow?" "Definitely. The heavenly sage, Holy Master, wants them to show their loyalty, so he will definitely let them go on stage. He even wants them to humiliate me." Xia Wuxin laughed bitterly. "Tomorrow, when I go on stage, a large group of extremely strong sages will surround me and take me down. In the end, they will let the heavenly flame sage and the other bastards humiliate me to their heart's content." Shen Xiang suddenly understood why Xia Wuxin was in such despair. Even before he died, he had to suffer all sorts of humiliation. "Do you have a grudge with the heavenly sage, Holy Master? Why would she harm you like this?" Shen Xiang asked. "No grudge, because there is a legend in the Myriad Universe Mountain. If one carries a deep grudge before they die, then after being refined into a pill, the quality will be even higher." Xia Wuxin said, "Therefore, the heavenly sage, Saint Master, wants me to be refined into a pill with deep hatred. The Tao Creation Sage and the Heavenly Mother Sage that the Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord, just accepted, will they participate?" Shen Xiang asked again. He was more worried about this. "No, these new sages are very precious in her eyes. She won't let them participate." Xia Wuxin said, "A dog like Sage Etian who betrayed me is like a tool in her eyes. So tomorrow I will do my best to kill them." Xia Wuxin did not notice that Shen Xiang had become much stronger. After all, how much could he have become in such a short time? He did not know that Shen Xiang had been cultivating in the time domain for more than 10 years. So in his opinion, Shen Xiang's strength was no different from before. "Shen Xiang, go back to the golden crystal cultivation room and rest." Xia Wuxin said, "I hope you can make the best use of your time and increase your power overnight." "All right." Shen Xiang did not say anything else and directly returned to the golden crystal cultivation room. After all, it was very comfortable to be in there. After he arrived at the golden crystal cultivation room, he immediately released the 6 realms mirrors and entered the time domain. After cultivating in the time domain for a few months, only one night had passed outside. Since he was going to have a big battle tomorrow, Shen Xiang had to properly cultivate his various cultivation techniques and refine the divine weapons in his hands. In the blink of an eye, Shen Xiang had spent a few months in the time domain. When he came out, he realized that something was wrong. The door to the golden crystal cultivation room seemed to be sealed. He immediately walked over to open it, but was unable to enter. "Shen Xiang, this golden crystal cultivation room is my most precious item. I have already moved it to the teleportation hall. I will teleport you out along with the cultivation room. You must live on and help me kill the heavenly sage, Holy Lord. Xia Wuxin's voice came from outside. Xinxiang was stunned. This Xia Wuxin actually played such a trick on him. He was really caught off guard. The heavenly sage, Holy Lord, will be here soon. This is your last chance to leave. I can't run away, but sending you away is not a problem. Xia Wuxin said again. No matter what, I can only believe in you now. Have a good trip. Don't worry, I will definitely kill the sage of Tianfa and the sage of Heavenly Go for you. These two bastards betrayed me. Even if you don't say it, I will definitely kill them. After he finished speaking, Xinxiang felt a wave of spatial fluctuations. He was really going to teleport him and the golden crystal cultivation room away. The space teleportation formation opened and the square golden crystal cultivation room suddenly disappeared. Xia Wuxin left the teleportation room without looking back and quickly returned to his grand and splendid hall. Chapter 4650. Xia Wuxin was stunned when he heard Tianxian, Sacred Master's words. Xinxiang had asked him about the universe fate chart before, but he never expected that Xinxiang was someone with a universe fate chart. Moreover, Xinxiang was a mist fish. Logically speaking, anyone with a universe fate chart would be monitored by 10,000 Universes Mountain. Under normal circumstances, Xinxiang should have been targeted a long time ago. Now that Xinxiang had snuck into 10,000 Universes Mountain, Tianxian, Sacred Master, said this. This meant that 10,000 Universes Mountain did not know that Xinxiang had a universe fate chart. Are you sure? Xia Wuxin still found it hard to believe. He carefully recalled that Xinxiang was indeed very special. It could even be said that he was very strong and had great potential. If this was true, he was glad that he had sent Xinxiang away. If Xinxiang had fallen into Tianxian, Sacred Master's hands, Tianxian, Sacred Master would have profited greatly. It's absolutely true. Sage Etian said, we can guarantee it with our lives. Xia Wuxin suddenly understood why Xinxiang wanted to kill Sage Etian and the others. It was very likely that it was to shut them up. However, he was still a step too late. Sage Etian and Sage Tianfa had already reported this matter to Tianxian, Sacred Master. Hand over Xinxiang. Tianxian, Sacred Master, said coldly. He should still be in 10,000 Universes Mountain. Ha ha ha. You are one step too late. I have already sent him away. Xia Wuxin laughed. Xinxiang has a universe fate chart. I believe that he will be able to escape from your pursuit. Tianxian's Sacred Master's face gradually turned cold. She looked very fierce. Even Xia Wuxin was frightened by this woman's expression and took a few steps back. He also knew why Tianxian, Sacred Master, was so angry. After all, Xinxiang had a universe fate chart and was very important to Tianxian, Sacred Master. If the heavenly sage, Saint Lord, captured Xinxiang and handed him over to the group of people from Myriad Universe Mountain, she would definitely be heavily rewarded. In addition, she would have a certain backing, and when the time came, her status would soar. Heavenly Sage, Holy Lord, if you have the guts, then kill me immediately. Xia Wuxin shouted. He was no longer afraid. You're not worthy of my attack, said the heavenly sage, Saint Sovereign, coldly. As soon as she finished speaking, 10 tall and strong men stepped forward. They were clad in white crystal armor that emitted a sparkling white light. They held white crystal swords in their hands and slowly walked towards Xia Wuxin. Xia Wuxin knew very well that these 10 strong men were very powerful sages under the heavenly sage, Saint Lord. When they slowly walked over, their footsteps caused the entire hall to tremble. They exuded a threatening aura. When they stepped forward, Xia Wuxin felt as if 10 giant mountains were moving forward, as if they could crush everything. Xia Wuxin, now you know how weak you are, said the heavenly sage, Saint Lord, coldly. You have been a holy lord for so many years, but in today's contest, you are still unable to fight against the sages under my tutelage. This means that you have been wasting Myriad Universe Mountain's resources all these years. Therefore, there's no need for you to exist. Just obediently become a resource. Xia Wuxin trembled as anger, fear, resentment, and all sorts of emotions surged within him. He was momentarily at a loss as to how to deal with the 10 powerful sages. The Heavenly Flame Sage looked like a middle-aged man. At that moment he said mockingly, Xia Wuxin, "Oh, Xia Wuxin, I've followed you for so many years, but I haven't improved at all. I haven't been following the Heavenly Sage, Saint Lord, for long. But what I've gained far exceeds what you've given me." Xia Wuxin looked angrily at the Heavenly Flame Sage before looking at the Heavenly Ghost Sage and the Heavenly Punishment Sage. He had previously planned to kill these fellows no matter what, but now, against the 10 powerful sages, he had no chance of doing anything. Xia Wuxin knew that the Heavenly Sage, Saint Lord, had many powerful sages under his tutelage, but he had never imagined that they would be so powerful. Now, just 10 sages were enough to suppress him to the point of suffocation. Haha, are you trying to kill me? The Heavenly Flame Sage laughed loudly. Come on, you trash holy lord. Forget about killing me. You won't even be able to touch a single strand of my hair. You really are an idiot. Shen Xiang is clearly someone with a universe fate, but you let him go. The Heavenly Ghost Sage also mocked as he sneered. Of course, we already knew about this, but we didn't tell you. Ha 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 ha. From the looks of it, he wants nothing more than to kill us, but he can't do anything. He's too useless, too useless. How did such a fellow become a holy lord? The Heavenly Punishment Sage chuckled. Xia Wuxin was about to explode from anger. If he wanted to kill his way over, he would first have to defeat the 10 powerful sages in front of him. As the challenger, I can't do anything. Xia Wuxin, you are the challenger. Use all means you have to attack the sages under my tutelage. The Heavenly Sage, Saint Lord, said. As long as you can block them today, you can regain your position as Holy Lord. Xia Wuxin naturally wanted to block them. But so what if he defeated the 10 powerful sages in front of him? The Heavenly Sage, Saint Lord, still had many sages under him. He wouldn't be able to deal with them today. Xia Wuxin looked at the Heavenly Flame Sage and gritted his teeth. Then he suddenly jumped on the spot and shot towards the Heavenly Flame Sage like a bolt of lightning.